I did.
If you showered today, raise your hand.
Wait, what?
If you split it today already, raise your hand.
Everybody marks the rush.
I went outside.
I sweated.
Cool. Over here.
Get some started.
Right.
3 big left.
Have to wait. Thanks, Larry. So I am Mike King. Many of you may know me from previous shows as last year's annual meeting and the previous year's annual meeting. I'm currently the president of FamiLAB. I've been a member since 2011, and I have been on the board actually since 2012. I've been on the board quite a long time. My current occupation is I am a design engineer for a company in Orlando called Crafted Design. We do a lot of design work for theme park rides. So we do audio, video, lighting, that kind of design, usually on board the ride. Not the content, but the actual equipment itself that goes on the rides. I have a wife, Jessica, who's not here today. She's with my son, Colin. They're at Disney having more fun than we are. Dave?
Hello, I'm Dave Smith. I'm your current vice president. As far as general bio, I work for a company in DeLand called United Pressure Technologies. I've been a member of the lab since 2014, although I started coming here in 2012. I do random. Whatever needs to kind of happen, I kind of do. And I do a little bit of everything. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, hi. That's me. I am your treasurer and half of your secretary present. I work for space. I make rockets go. I write software to make rockets go. Well, all I do.
That's all.
That's all.
That's it.
I didn't want to get into the list.
Try. I forgot about my part of that. I make rockets stop.
Oh yeah, he makes rockets stop. I make rockets go. But yeah, no, I do your money things. I do your membership management. Keep the lights on and the bills paid.
You're a triathlete.
Yeah, I am.
For clarification, I've never worked on rockets. Either the stop or the go part. And Jackie, who is
on her way.
We'll introduce her. She's awesome. She is your new comptroller. That means additional and side treasury items. And
she's my minion.
Yeah, she.
And my Padawan.
Yeah, exactly. The treasury is a very complicated position, and so this past year we were splitting it into 2 different positions so that we can better manage everything that's going on and coming out.
You didn't update
yeah, the Twitter
Lensman?
Oh yeah, I did say yeah.
On it. Well, we can fix that. Here
That's
we
what
go.
happens when you copy and paste slides. If you message that, you'll get Mike back. It'll be weird. She's like, I don't know. John Lamp, he's one of our directors. He will be actually his spot is open for election this year. Many of you know him. He does RC quadcopters. He's a mobile salesman during the day and a party animal by night. He's not here to speak for himself, so I get to.
This is why I came to the meeting today. Because you didn't talk among the reasons. Also cheese.
So FamiLAB is a hackerspace. What is the hackerspace? Well, we operate a collaborative environment where people can get together and share tools and socialize and make really cool things. What is FamiLAB? This is FamiLAB's mission statement. I don't know if any of you know this by heart, as I do, but FamiLAB is a community that fosters learning and creativity, through hands-on projects, collaboration, and the sharing of skills and tools to improve ourselves and enrich the world around us. I get the last two reversed sometimes, but Gracie actually led a workshop with us 5 years ago now. Where there's probably 40 of us in the same room who came up with this wonderful mission statement that's kind of led our decisions up to this point. So, quick history lesson. Way, way back in the day of the ancient times when the iPhone, YouTube, and Gmail were new. If I knew they came out, 2 years before that? We had an 800 square foot facility. It was wonderful. Who was here in the 800 square foot facility?
Trash can.
I haven't heard that in a long time.
Yeah.
Is that Dan?
It is.
Yeah.
That's fish tank behind.
Yeah. So it was a very interesting time.
And half the space was taken up by those RTs.
Yeah, that was since CRTs wasn't were a thing. Yeah. That's an iBook, a 2008 iBook. Yeah, very interesting
It
times.
was a year old then.
Yeah, it was powerful. So back in 2009, we actually started becoming a real thing. And this was our first landing page for the website, the FamiLAB, because that's what it was. It was 4 a.m. iLab was the original definition of what FamiLAB was kind of abbreviated into. The president at the time was Dan Lewis. The vice president was Dan Burrows, who's actually sitting here today. Treasurer, Peter Doge.
Thank you.
Huh?
Deggy. Deggy.
I'm going to call it Doge. Deggy? I've never heard it pronounced. So you learn something new every time. Secretary was Matt Cooper, who's also sitting here in the crowd today. We did a lot of really cool stuff. We actually had 15 members or so at that time when we moved to the 400 square foot space. The reason why we moved from an 800 square foot space to a 400 square foot space is that at the time, we were a bunch of rambunctious young 20-somethings and decided that we could do it all on our own and ended up not being able to pay our bills. So then we moved down to a 400 square foot space after some time. We had a lot of great times in that space though. This is probably our biggest open house that we ever had, which was about 30 people. We would open up the bay door and have open house fill out to the outside. For reference, how big that space was, if you cut this room in half and then took out a third of it, it was about that big.
Yeah.
It was a very exciting time. There's some interesting people of note here. This gentleman here, designer of logo. None of you probably know him, but his name is Aaron. He now works at Google. Yeah. There's Tom Long. I'm over here. Kyle is over here.
Matt Armstrong,
Oh yeah, Matt Armstrong. Yeah.
Susie over on the right.
Susie.
Oh, yeah. So there's a lot of people here, I think. I think Dave Woods was here this night too. Maybe he took a picture. Yeah, so it's a very interesting. That was the extent of our space, and we did a lot of really cool stuff there. I'm sorry.
It looks bigger in the picture.
It really does.
We had a wide angle lens.
We had air conditioner. It was big, power total for the entire building. If you tie the breaker on, it would stay on for longer.
Cool, look at that shit.
Well, it was also
Crazier things were done.
It was also, I mean, it was a storage locker, so
It was a
wasn't
storage
like
unit.
it had any insulation or anything
No.
like that.
We had a big old bay door and a lot of hope. Because of our size limitation, we started wanting to offer classes, but it was way too small to actually do a sizable class in there. So we borrowed some space from a company called Cloud Space over kind of by UCF. Are they still around? No.
Home offices only.
Okay.
Till the end of the month.
Oh, they're all gone at the end of the month. All right, so they don't exist anymore. Good. See,
Right.
Now you can see what their space kind of looked like. It was blue. But we did a lot of other cool stuff. This is when we started participating in national projects, the Global Hackerspace Challenges, and Zane trying to rewind 3D printer filament.
Still looks approximately like
The whole
broken
base.
stuff and everything, guts going out. Yep, that's just default state.
Seems about right.
That was Max Cupcake.
That was Max Cupcake.
Oh, is it?
I believe,
Yeah.
How's that going?
Similar design.
You still have it?
Still in the box, yeah.
Right on.
I believe we actually still have this printer too somewhere.
Yeah, it's Chris's. Yeah, it's out on the pallet racks.
Times have changed. Look, there's Dave Casey teaching somebody something. So we were in that space for a while, and we were growing very rapidly, especially once we started doing all the classes and outreach activities. That's when Dave Woods came along and said, "Hey, so I've got this space over in Longwood. How do you guys feel about moving to 4,000 square feet?" We're like, "Oh God, 4,000 square feet is huge. We'll never fit the whole thing. How are we ever going to make this happen?" And then we filled it. So this was built out 1.0 in the 4,000 square foot space. You can see we're actually, none of you can remember this space probably, a couple of you. But we had a classroom with a big hole in the middle. Our classroom was half the size of this, our space up from there. That was all fine and dandy. And then at that time we just said, hey, we're getting more serious about this whole thing. Let's go ahead and apply for our 501c3. Well, about 3 months after we decided we should go for it, I was able to put together a 76, 78-page document that we submitted to the IRS for our determination. And in 2013, we were granted, without any conditions or questions, our 501c3. And that was basically because of our outreach efforts to the community, our teaching of classes, educating people, and generally being a really cool place that deserves to not pay taxes. This is our first, huh?
Nothing.
Okay. This is our first group portrait that we did. This was for the Orlando Business Journal article. That was 3/4 of the membership, if I'm guessing correctly. Anyone verify that? It's about right though. But yeah, that was a very interesting time. It was a great article too. That was back when Lance. Yeah, is Shane in here?
Shane's next to Lance.
Yeah. Is that John?
Matt's holding a printer for some reason.
We all said, let's go grab something that looks like we made things. And we're like, oh, and we just I was. Yeah. Good times. Were you a member yet?
No.
Yeah, you were, because you were in the article.
Yeah.
Speaking of that photo, one thing I'm going to ask for all of you for much later. Before you all leave today, I'd like to get everyone back together for another group photo. So you can grab whatever you'd like. Let me rephrase. You can grab any non-animate object that you like and hold it and show off in this photo, and we'll take another photo at some point. Probably, I don't know where, but we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out.
So moving on. So 2014, 2015, we really efforts on our outreach and getting people aware who we were. We were in Make Magazine. We were on the second behind NYC Resistor in Make Magazine as far as the hacker spaces to visit, the most interesting places to go. We had articles in the Orlando Sentinel, the Orlando Business Journal. We had Computer World, and we were in everything. So everyone knew about us. This is when the hackerspace thing was blowing up. And everyone's like, whoa, hackerspaces? That sounds scary and cool. I want to go. And we continue to do stuff, outreach events in the community. And yes.
I'm going to pause real quick. Don't walk too far away because the audio is breaking up apparently as you face back and forth.
Okay.
So I'm going to put you in a box.
Faith and life.
Sorry,
And not yourself.
you can continue.
Very confused. So as we continue to grow and expand, we did a lot of, let's take right here in this box. I like to walk when I'm presenting.
I know.
So, okay. So we continue to grow and expand, have classes. I believe this is actually the first Google I/O event that we hosted here. Here, this looks like Willa maybe, back of her. I don't know if anyone else here, this shit is a shame. There's Dave Sykes. Yeah, so this is our first Google I/O event, and that was another big collaborative event we did with other makerspaces and places around the country. I believe this was a retro game night.
Mm-hmm.
Carlos and Mike.
We were playing.
And Lance!
Yeah, and there's Lance. So again, we continue to expand our offerings and expand what we were doing. And by this time, we had moved in to our new space. And we were doing everything. CNC routing, we did hackathons, we did 3D printing, a little bit of everything. And here's the early beginnings of the bio lab. Here, this is it. And then from this, we actually grew the entire lab from that single Petri dish. So who was here when we were doing build out? Who actually helped with build out? It was impressive, right?
No.
No,
It was a great time.
we're never moving
What-
again.
Drywall is awesome.
Somebody's at the door.
This is how to teach makers physical skills. So when they're
They just have to.
Well, no, the door timer is on too.
yeah, but the door's literally cracked open.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally open.
Oh, well. Moving on.
So Dave Woods again said, "Hey, so you guys have a lot of members, and I have this space that's opening up. So do you want to move?" We're like, maybe. And we started thinking about it. We're like, oh, I guess it would make sense to move. So we started drawing up plans. Actually, starting to think about it as early as 2013. Physical plans started getting drawn up in 2014, and I believe we started construction in late 2014. The original vision for what the space was going to look like, and I think we got pretty close in these early renderings to what it is now.
Yeah, that was like revision J.
Yeah. Yeah. At one point, we were going to put a door right here, actually. We had thought about a door right here, right behind Jamie. We ended up nixing the door, but we could always add it.
You have so we power those walls now.
Rubber gloves.
Well, yeah, you can stick rubber shoes.
So build out was fun. So what was existing in this space when we moved in here was essentially a large open warehouse with one room that was connected to those two bathrooms. Actually, it wasn't even connected. The room was separate from the bathroom.
Yeah, the wall was that wall.
Yeah. This is essentially right through here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So essentially right inside the front door, the wall was there, and there was a single front room, and then the bathrooms, and we removed it all, except for this wall right here. It's still right there. That's how it's a remodel. That was a whole lot of fun. So moving on, we keep doing more and more cool things. I've compressed these images. Hey, George. We've compressed these images. I have hundreds and hundreds of images of all these cool projects that you guys have done. And it's difficult to represent them all in one slide in our short amount of time that we have. My favorite picture from this series is actually this one here. This was Maker Faire in 2016. What this is a 26-foot box truck that we had filled completely full of items to take to Maker Faire. I believe this was on the way there, not on the way back. I could be mistaken. But the years before, we had carried like 3 or 4 pickup trucks.
Is it really messy? And it's on the way back.
But years before, we had taken several pickup trucks. Like, oh, we only need 2 or 3 pickup trucks, and we'll be fine. And then it was like, we rented a box truck. We said, oh, this will be great. We'll have plenty of space. And then we filled it. And we filled it again last year. So better packing was better because we had even more stuff than we brought last year. We also had involvement with the Nation of Makers. Our very own Jamie Zappa and Ian Cole, who is, Ian is not here today, but he is,
His kid got old, so.
Oh, that's right. His kid, Adam turned 18 today. Yep.
He's still 13 yet.
Yeah, same. Like, how is he driving? Oh, he's going to school. You want to speak about this, Jamie, for 30 seconds?
Sure, don't time me. Cool. So we got an email request for information in the middle of the summer from what looked like the White House. We kind of laughed and went, lol, what is this? I replied back, and then a personalized invitation from the Office of Science and Technology Policy came to me. Because there were so many Treasury questions, I just answered the email. And which is how about half of that crowd is actually treasurers and not the rest of their board, because all of the treasurers answered the emails. But we went to Washington, D.C. for a one-day conference at the White House. We got talks from people, head of the Office of Science and Technology Policy and the head of Small Business Administration and others, and then broke out into workshops to discuss basically how to hackerspace, makerspace, and FabLab when people don't really understand what we are. And from this and from other meetings like this, the 501c3 Nation of Makers was born. And now they exist basically to help represent hackerspaces, makerspaces, and fab labs, and also assist us by being a centralized place to have knowledge retention, a centralized place to do things like work with insurance companies, because they really don't get who we are, what we are, that we're not going to take over the world or blow stuff up. And assist places like, especially the bio-specific spaces, where governments always think that we're making the latest weapons of mass destruction and giant pandemics. In reality, it's like E. coli, but so they're growing slowly. Ian's on their board, Adam Savage is on their board, a bunch of cool people are on their board, and they're getting bigger and better every day.
There's groups. That's true. There's lots of groups on Facebook. Some of them are unrelated to making.
But there's no longer a space export Tesla.
That's very true. So also, later that year, we had a Maker City Roundtable. So in an extension of kind of, not really directly an extension of Nation of Makers, but in the same idea of thought, we had a meeting in Orlando, actually down at the Melrose Center, with a lot of maker influencers and maker leaders in the community throughout the greater Central Florida area. We kind of talked about some of our challenges and difficulties and opportunities we had for growth and how we can work together. This is still an ongoing effort and will be for a long time. It is easier for all of us to share information, to share resources, to share what we know and what we can do And another ancillary thing was to have some of the communities there, or communities, some of the companies that are maker friendly, recognize the talent that's around here in the community and to make it easier for makers to get in some of these jobs and to connect the manufacturers with the makers in Orlando. Because you guys all make awesome stuff, and I know some people are, I was like, where can I do this to make a living? So that's still ongoing. Oh, and Adam Savage was there. So now we enter the present era. I asked for photos. Ask and you shall receive. Would anyone from the BioLab like to give us a quick recap of our BioLab from this year? I'll put all you guys on the spot. Dave?
No, come on, don't make Dave do that.
Dave's good now.
Yeah, so we did bio stuff. Our big exciting things this year is involved getting a negative freezer finally and getting rid of the two big negative freezers that didn't quite work but almost worked. We're going to be doing a agri art competition, so we've got a little bit of agri art going on up there and down there. We found one of the world's largest mushroom is a Macrocebe titans. August can tell you a lot more about it than I can. That was a picture of the Macrocebe titans up in the upper corner there. I was on a flight and we had just landed, and I was just checking my mail and just kind of looking, and everyone was very excited about this thing. And the woman sitting next to me was shoulder surfing, and I came up to that, and then she immediately looked like, you can almost hear her neck look like but that's in the right hand corner. We've got some that's either plant callus or orchids.
Those are orchid seeds.
Orchid baby.
And John can tell you a lot more about that.
So good, Lindsay.
So lots of exciting stuff. The negative 80 was kind of the thing that we were on hold on a lot of things for. And we got that in a couple weeks ago. So we're hoping more exciting things in the future.
Is it 80 centigrade or 80 Fahrenheit? Very cool.
That's way cool.
What's interesting is this picture here. I have another picture from the exact same angle that didn't make it into these slides. It was very sparse when we first moved in here, and now it's a very happening place to be. We also have had some advancements in our machine shop. Nick. Nick has been teaching Machine Shop 101 classes as well as almost daily for projects, and has really kind of taken over the space, and it's pretty awesome. Do you have anything more to say about Machine Shop?
Not really. Well, yeah, I could talk forever. You guys all know this. But that's what Friday Night Machine Shop needed. So just thanks to everybody who's helped us grow the machine shop area over the past year or so. It didn't really exist not all that long ago, and yeah, we used to just have that little grizzly mini mill and a mini lathe, and then suddenly deep classes happened, meetups happened, people got involved with projects, people donated money so we can get some better equipment, and there's just been so much cool stuff that's happened, and now we're making stuff that we never could have dreamed of before. It's fantastic. So thank you, everybody, all 80-something of you who went through the Machine Shop 101 class, and also kept all of your eyes, fingers, and toes.
Yeah.
Okay, so injuries, yes, major injuries.
No one has severed a limb.
Hey, I made that. Sorry.
I believe you did make some of these items. So we also have a woodworking place, and a lot of you guys have made stuff from here. I actually had more trouble finding woodworking photos than metalworking photos. So if you have photos of things that you made in the wood shop that you would like to give me for later, please do so that I can include them in a slideshow that I'm working on. Not slideshow, with the thing where the slides play with it.
Slideshow.
But it'll be on YouTube. I'm not going to say anything over it. Anyway. We also had the hot metal area. I called it welding, but I'm going to call this hot metal and cold metal, even though the cold metal gets hot when you cut it. But this is where you work metal hot a lot of times, where you're welding it together or cutting it with plasma or doing some forge welding.
Or just straight forging.
Or forging. Ed is somewhere back here. So he's been working on building a forge, and also he is kind of the go-to man if you want to learn about knife making. Ed makes knives that are absolutely gorgeous and extremely functional, and very soon we'll have a very large right arm. So if any of you haven't had a chance to go and play with the hammer and the anvil and forging things, you should do that. When are you doing like any kind of like open make nights for knives at this point?
Pretty much just like whoever takes the class, whenever they're in here working on shit or stuff, and they need help, like come grab me and I'll walk you through whatever they can. Try to help.
And several people in class and have functional knives now, which is really cool.
Yeah, JD and James so far.
Very cool.
All the rest of you guys are slackers.
I'm on it.
Get your shit together.
We also have a marvelous leatherworking station, which is partnered with the knife making station. You can make a lot of really cool leather items here. I could only find a couple pictures. I couldn't find your fortune cookie pictures.
I'll give you some.
Okay.
They're rad.
But Sage made a bunch of little leather fortune cookies.
About to make more.
Rick, not Rick, I'm sorry. Overkill, Chuck made a hat of some sort. I liked it better than the big floppy kind of crazy hat, but apparently that's what it was supposed to look like. Yeah. And people made wallets and backpacks and trinkets and sheaths for knives and all kinds of things. And again, if you want to learn about that, I would see Fuzzy or Ed, and they can help you experience some of the joys of leatherworking. Maker Faire 2017. This was a lot of fun. This is our best year yet. They get better every year, in my opinion, is hopeful. But we had a lot of FamiLAB member representation there. Everything from Power Wheels to beef jerky to lightsabers, and you had your knives there showing off. We had all kinds of different stuff. And Ian riding on a very small battery-powered tool. But it was a lot of fun. There was, I don't know the exact numbers, but probably 12,000 plus attendees over the course of 2 days. And we had a lot of great fun and got a lot of really good pictures. I've got 500, 600 pictures of this. So if you're ever interested in seeing some, I can link you.
I like it.
And now, no, not yet. Jamie needs a few minutes.
Oh, Jamie's good.
You good?
English General?
Is that Pixel?
No,
it's a
No.
random kitty. Pixel's like 45 times that size.
Yeah, this is the entire FamiLAB bank account here.
Those are all Monopoly dollars?
There's a lot of
Just in for-
Okay. All right, yeah, so about monies. Oh, right, she's not here yet. But I was going to point out, Jackie has joined us as a comptroller. What does that mean? It means minion and Padawan, basically. So when I like take a day out of town, she can still pay the bills and do the books. And so we have somebody to offload a little bit of the work onto. It's very welcome and appreciated because as we've grown, we've also picked up a little bit more paperwork. We have double the size of all of the accounts that we have to keep track of, that kind of stuff. Doesn't mean double the money, it means double the number of accounts to track. So I really appreciate Jackie coming on and helping us. So where are we at? This year, of course, as with last year, the majority of our income came in from member dues. Don't get too excited about that total bringing in of like 68 grand because it all disappears in the next slide. But the majority that came from member dues, as we are. Other notable things, class income was much larger than last year, or the year prior. So this is all 2017 data. None of this is 2018 data yet. Part of that is due to machine shop. Nick taught like 300 sittings of it in a month.
Like 4 in 1 month.
Yeah, four in 1 month did amazing things to the little graphs on my notes. I'm like, wow, we have lots of, where did that come from?
And then I spent it all
And then you spent it all.
on shop improvements.
But yeah, also thanks to people for using Amazon Smile. That brought in almost $1,000 last year. So if you don't know Amazon Smile, basically when you shop at Amazon, they'll kick back a little itty bitty percentage of things that are eligible to the charity of your choice. We are Orlando Hackerspaces Inc. in it, and then they cut us a check every quarter.
Yeah. Important note, if you haven't signed up yet, Amazon Smile is actually doing a promotion right now that if you've never before done it and you use it for the first time, they're going to triple that donation kickback before the 31st.
Which is
So you
awesome.
just go to smile.amazon.com and then look up Orlando
Hackerspaces Inc.
Yeah, and if you buy stuff, it's triple the
buy a car.
kickback as opposed to $5.
Yeah, but buy that tank that's on Amazon.
Yeah.
I like money.
Given the sort of pins that they kick back, the
That's
fact
an
that
amazing amount of money.
that is an amazing amount of money.
Yeah, I know some people use it for
FamiLAB
their
do a lot
businesses.
of shopping on Amazon.
You should see the boxes. The cat
Okay.
loves it. Yeah, so
Honestly, if you add 3 to 4 zeros to that number, that'd be about right.
Yeah.
It's like
it's a very, very tiny percentage. So I appreciate it.
really a
Really
lot of shopping.
Half of 1%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So,
Oh, so add 3 zeros and double it.
pretty much. So that's definitely appreciated. That has helped a lot. And all the stuff that comes in like that goes towards consumables and paying bills and all that kind of thing. We also brought in a fair amount on crowdfunding campaigns, and that goes right back out to the crowdfunding campaign. But I like to track it so we know how much is going in and coming back out again. We had the wood lathe. We crowdfunded a couple other small tools. We crowdfunded software for crowdfunded. Yeah, the laser tube, which is 2018, but the numbers are like great in the 2018 charts, I'll tell you, for laser. And so, several other things like the Creative Cloud that sits on the laser computer. So that's also super appreciated. And then also on here, the Biohacking Lab is always notable because they have a lot of in and out on their donations and the stuff that they crowdfund. I don't understand any of it, so I just kind of go with it and say all the bio dude stuff. But so again, largely our income is our member dues. Now our expenses. Yay! That's where it all goes. It's all disappeared. So we're actually doing really well, such that the delta between these two is about $5,000, give or take.
A year.
Yes, a year over the full year. The month breakdown is coming later, but of course, the majority goes into the lease and the rent, and then our utilities, things like our water, which does roll up into our lease, and the electric, which is the big spender far and away, our Amazon instance for our website and the forums and the wiki and that kind of thing, trash, etc. We also spend a little bit on tools and shop equipment because as we're here longer, stuff breaks, and so some of these smaller ticket items we'll just replace. Some of the consumables have come out of that. Some consumables have been funded by classes. So when you teach a class, we will take half for general funds, and then the other half either the teacher can pay out to themselves, or they can earmark it for specific things. I'm going to make the example out of Machine Shop 101 and say consumables for the metal shop area, end mills, that sort of thing, are coming out of class funds, but other things have come out of the tools and shop equipment earmarking. Class expenses are like the soldering class.
Can I say a quick thing about the lease?
Yes.
I'm assuming that you've got in there is the amortization of
Yep.
the cost of building out all of this. And probably most of you don't really quite understand or haven't seen what the arrangement is there, but this is all set up on a sliding scale to put the pain towards the end of a 5-year lease. So because to allow FamiLAB to grow. And well, we're at that last 2 years, so the lease is going to look kind of crazy for the next 2 years. But then a whole bunch drops off, and then you're going to have an amazing lease rate again.
I think my last or second to last slide is the graph of the bit on top of it.
Yeah.
Because it looks insane until you realize that it's separated out, and that it does drop back down again. And the membership growth required to meet it looks insane until you look at a graph of it and go, oh, we're not drowning, life is good. So yeah, those are towards the end. Crowdfunding stuff in and out. Event expenses, largely Maker Faire, I'm not gonna lie. That's truck rental for Maker Faire, that's incidental expenses for Maker Faire, that sort of thing.
The goodie bags we tried.
The goodie bags,
Those look amazing.
the propaganda bags were wonderful and a great idea.
Yeah.
You want those again? Tell me now.
You want those again?
Okay. I
we
found some
actually-
at Maker Effects.
I don't know.
I gave them a whole box of them.
Oh,
okay.
To their last
Because
event.
every time they go to events, they actually bring a bin of our stuff as well and give it out at events for us.
That's nice.
Since we have so many members who are members of us,
Yeah.
they're like, oh, we'll give them out for free. If you're closer along, we'll go here. So I'm sorry. Sorry, Jamie.
I'm all for like discussion making this livelier because I try like with pretty colors and like lolcats, but budgets are boring. All right, so utilities largely breaks down like electric. It's air conditioning. It's a space. We've got power tools. This is not a surprise. It's just kind of more of a for your awareness.
Air conditioning is a big.
Air conditioning is a huge part of it. I did, but the graph over the year, of course, peaks in the summer, and you just kind of deal with it. I appreciate all the efforts to not run the air conditioning constantly, though, and putting in thermostats that kick back down, also appreciated. No surprises here, really. The only one that people are going to raise eyebrows at is hazardous waste, and that's just the BioLab. Joke goes here, I guess, but they have a separate waste service. Blah, 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 blah numbers. If anybody's really interested, I only put this in here if anybody wants the slides later. But blah, 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 blah numbers. This is kind of the breakdown of things, how things go through the year. And the notable part is I don't know why I'm going to point when I have a pointer, but the electric, it peaks in the middle of the summer.
You do the center button is
Yeah, no, it was habit out of nowhere. I don't know why. As I move, I don't know why I'm moving. But, yeah, really the only notable thing here is the electric, and life goes on. I try to post in general chain and not board every time we pay the bill, just so everybody's aware. But life happens.
So we signed up through TechSoup for a donation from TechSoup.
It's weird, but they're essentially a front to get nonprofit.
So we pay $175 a year to get $2,000
of AWS credits. These numbers are going to be intriguing next year.
There should be effectively a single
One
payment under
payment.
web hosting for all of our AWS stuff, and then it'll be 1 month will be $175, and that's it for the whole year.
Yeah, that'll be fairly awesome.
And it will allow us to expand our offerings
Also
from
true.
our hosting
Also true.
services.
Significantly.
Something we talked about in a member meeting, we can always chat later, is that we're changing how we do our membership system, and changing AWS to be a little more flexible is part of that. That's all back-end stuff that you guys, it won't affect you unless you want to help, which is cool.
Yes,
But
please help.
But that's largely one of the reasons for the AWS change, is so that we can expand a little bit more and host a lot of our membership stuff on AWS. Actually mean, and why do you care? You care because keeping the lab open is kind of cool. But what does this actually mean? So starting at the beginning, we right now have 129 members. The way I've defined member for the intents and purposes of the pie chart, you have this thing. You've gone through the process. You are either paying me money, or we have a special arrangement with you, or you are a family member who's gone through the process and gotten their badge. That's how I'm counting member. So not all members are paying the standard $50, and that's fine. However, we did have an uptick in that for this year, which is kind of cool. We have more members who are either paying 50 or 50 and eating fees, basically. We also have people who are paying reduced membership. The number because we do have the starting student, we do have folks who are out of town and staying out of town, but still kicking us cash, which is always appreciated. Boosters are the ones who are paying 100 and either sponsoring somebody or just waiting until there's somebody who needs to be sponsored. 6 of those 4 people are sponsored. And then 11 attached family members. And then there are 5 special cases, which are the ones where we trade teaching, cleaning, whatever the case may be, because they can't do, I almost threw this at you accidentally, because they can't do the standard rate, which is legit. So 129 members. Whole bunches of expenses. This is kind of this is a lot of blah, blah, blah. But what this ends up being, what this means to you, is that our expenses are basically 94 $50 memberships, is how you can think of it. 94 full people with nothing left over, which is also a little hard to picture, numbers. So I broke it down into if everybody paid, if all 129 members were paying $50 a month. Assume that you're on 4 o'clock this morning, because why do anything ahead of time? This is how much of each $50 membership would go towards specific things. So rent, lease, etc. Takes up almost half. That is expected. Utilities, which is all of the lumping together of the waste, the water, the internet, web hosting, and has waste. Those are all another significant portion, almost a quarter there. And then it's broken down into other things. I've got a more detailed breakdown if anybody is masochistic and kind of curious, but I broke it down into things like common office software. This is QuickBooks. This is the Creative Cloud, because for all intents and purposes, it is vital for us. I have a feeling a lot of you would be really angry if we suddenly didn't have the Creative Cloud on the laser computer in there. QuickBooks lets us do the bookworks. There are a couple other things that I've lumped under common office software, but it's all stuff that helps to keep the lab running. Corporate stuff, that's all the paperwork filing, that's our fictitious name, that's our annual corporate report. Again, it's all, the takeaway is all the stuff that keeps the lab running from the paperwork side of things. Event costs I put in there simply because it is a significant chunk. That's largely Maker Faire, but it's also the propaganda, the candy, and the information things.
Half of the total cost.
Right. Well, I put it in there anyway because as it amortizes. But it's all the stuff we spend for events. The very few events that have event registration fees, that kind of thing. The fees are what PayPal or Square take out of you. So for every $50 membership, PayPal will eat $1.40. Life goes on. That's cool. PayPal is really convenient, so I'm chill with that. And then this year, our remainder is actually bigger than last year, which is kind of exciting. I didn't realize this until 4 o'clock this morning, crunching the numbers. Last year, of the $50 memberships for 92 of us, I think it was at this time last year, we kept like $9.50. And this year, we're keeping about $12.83 out of every $50 membership dues, assuming everybody's paying $50. So we're doing better. We are slowly working our way up. We've got a whole bunch of members, and we are doing quite well. So,
what kind of things does the remainder pay for? Is that just profit?
Haha! Thank you for asking. Profit. You're funny.
Pay all those employees, Mike.
Yeah. Well, you know, I'm gonna get paid double my salary for doing this today.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
You sound excited.
I'll make a trip.
Oh, thank you so much. No, what goes into that remainder? Toilet paper, paper plates, paper towels, stuff that breaks, consumables all out throughout the shop.
Food for the annual meeting.
Food for the annual meeting. Although I will thank everybody who donated. A lot of people donated. Super appreciate that.
At, I would say, $320,
which covers
at the end of the tally.
easily half of the cost, which is super appreciated. But that remainder isn't money we're sitting on. It's stuff that goes towards stuff for the lab. It's all those incidental expenses, things we hadn't crowdfunded it.
Facility repairs.
Facility repairs. So it's all maintenance really in the end. We do increase our bank balance a little bit this year, not a whole lot, but a little bit. And so we're in the black and getting better. But it's all used for stuff here. And this is what I was telling Dave about. This is as we move forward. The rent is the blue chunk at the bottom. That's as rent going up with standard. And then the payback from the loan for build out is lumped on top of that in red. So as you can see, we're kind of getting towards, I'm not going to move because of the audio thing, but as we're getting, stop. I know, stop. As we get towards the end of it, we are paying back more on the loan. But then it changes. What you don't see is the next chunk. So we need to increase our membership roughly 2 people per month to keep up with that. We're way above that relative to the line anyway. We are safe and good and continuing on. So for right now, Treasurer is totally not panicking. Life is good. Could we be bringing in more? Yes. Do I still want to get grants? Yes. And if anybody loves grants, come see me. But we are doing well and move forward. Okay, so blah, 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 numbers, questions. And if nobody has questions now, remember that you can always email me, ask me, catch me in the hallway. Like Slack during the day is going to be a little slow, so probably email is your best bet. And then if you want to see the books, I can give anybody a view-only account to our QuickBooks, and you can try to go through and decipher that if you're feeling particularly energetic.
The PayPal tax for every member, where it takes up $1.40 or something like that.
PayPal and Square, yep.
Yeah, so we can actually pay that on our side.
Yes.
At request.
They don't offer it, but we can send you a link for that plus for $50 plus the little bit on top of it.
Correct.
So it's $51.86 or something comes out to.
Okay. That's what I'm doing currently. I just wanted to make sure that that was made aware that people can obviously pay the additional fee that PayPal takes out of it.
Yeah, and we did stop sending out that link in the new member welcome emails simply to avoid 500 PayPal links because people kept signing up for more than one PayPal link. And while I appreciate that, it wasn't intentional. So now I just wait to do it by request, and I try to repeat it without sounding like I'm money grabbing at most of the member meetings. Because I felt bad that I kept going. I know that you like $150 a month is awesome, but you probably didn't mean to do that. So,
I was just stretching.
okay. Aaron, did you have one you wiggled?
Do you mind going back all those slides that you?
Come see me after. We'll sit over cheese grits and talk.
I will make sure to actually have these slides all available for you guys to look at later as well. We'll post a link if they're not already posted.
Gotcha. I was just going to point out that along the same lines, if you find yourself out in the warehouse and you really like air conditioning, and you really feel guilty when Jamie posts how much electricity costs, you can ask her and pay an extra $10 or $15 a month so that you can turn on the AC guilt-free once in a while. Or anything else, if you're using a laser a bunch and you just want to toss in $10 a month towards the next tube replacement or whatever, you can do that. Just ask.
And it's awesome, and people do that. And I believe it's pinned in general. We have a link to a jot form where you can select the thing to donate towards.
Single-use form right now.
Yeah, it's not recurring right now. We're working on that. But if you want a single-use toss, say, I've been out running the AC in the warehouse for 3 days and I feel bad or something. Yeah, like $2. There's a form to make ask email address or what link or whatever. It's just linked, pinned in general. Goes right to us and sends me a nice note knowing what it's for.
When you have nearly 10 tons of air conditioning running in the warehouse, which has limited insulation, and it's 4,000 square feet, it costs some money.
Yeah, you have to spend like $1.50 or $2 an hour.
More questions? Cool. Thank you for staying awake. I'm harassable when you do have questions, or again, like I said, if you want to take a peek at the books, that's open to any member. Just tag me and I'll get you a QuickBooks view-only account and kind of walk you through how that works.
I have a comment, actually, related to Treasury. So if you have Treasury questions, if you have a problem with your membership, or you need to delay a payment, or you need to check up on your payments, or see when the next one's coming out, or whatever the question might be, instead of pinging Jamie directly on Slack, if you actually email Treasury at FamiLAB, or treasurer at FamiLAB.org, it'll help us a lot, because we're trying to train up Jackie to take over Jamie board. So it helps us train people. If Jamie's the only person who knows how our money works, then we won't have money to train. So we're trying to train people well. So if you have any questions at all, try email first rather than Slack, because it helps us keep track and train future board members.
That is a good point. Again, remember that there's remember that there's 2 of us on there.
Should I have a different email address for my PayPal account than I use?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you for asking that question, Dave. I'm glad that you brought that up. When you guys, this is kind of preaching to the choir because you're all already members and are already paying me. But when you sign up with a PayPal link for your membership dues, please make sure the email that is on your PayPal account is the one you're checking, because if PayPal pickups frequently, it's just what it does. I'm sure you've all seen it. If one of your cards expires, it instantly shuts off your recurring payments. And I email you and go, hey, PayPal might have done something scary to you. It's probably normal, but you might want to go look at that.
Yeah, that would appreciate it.
Oh, no.
18 years, my account's now disabled.
If for some reason your email address is different, at least let us know what your actual email
So I can
address
contact
is.
you. Yeah. But that way you get an advance warning if PayPal's going to do something that they did to Shay. Yes.
In regard to warehouse air conditioning and insulation, I have 1,000 square feet of Mylar that we can put up in the ceiling, but I can't do it by myself. It's, the 6,000 square feet that we need, but I've got 1,000 feet that we could put up and find out if it does any good. And if it does, then I'll get the other 5,000 square feet.
So everyone's very happy about saving money and saving the environment.
He really likes ladders.
Harnesses,
I would do a harness in a minute.
I'm going to do parkour.
Perfect. Yeah. We get meat and types of harnesses for everybody.
We have harnesses that work for that.
Moving on.
Got a question in the back?
Monkeys. If
you'd like to pay more than 50 but less than 100, such that the difference goes to whatever
I can
treasurer sees fit, what's the method to do that?
contact treasurer at FamiLAB because I can make you a personalized link in PayPal. It takes me like 3 seconds to do for any of your particular amounts. And that's actually a good question because I've gotten that one before. We've had people who paid just slightly more for car charging, for AC, for consumables, and they built it into their membership payment, or they put a separate one so they could keep their membership payment going on and just add like a limited time, bill me $10 a month or something. So that's totally possible. Email treasurer at FamiLAB.
You always throw cash in the box.
There's a box.
That's
There's a
it.
box
There's a
for cash.
Hopefully a recurring thing will be done soon, and I'll get that up, and once that's done, then you can just set up your own.
For that. In the meantime, talk to us, but yeah, we're fighting with John Moore.
We also love your fake money. Fake money doesn't buy bills. Doesn't buy
And,
things.
Yeah.
and if you want to donate to a specific area, you can always do it justed and
And
attach
tie
a
your
note.
cash to a note that says
Yeah.
FamiLAB.
That is excellent. Anyway, more questions. Cool, I'll stop. Back to Mike with the weather.
So we are going to take a short 15 to 20-minute intermission for you guys to stand up, stretch your legs, do whatever. In that time, please
Come see me.
Come see one of us.
Yeah, I was gonna say, in that time, please see Jamie or Dave to receive a ballot, which looks like this. Important people and issues later to come.
Or the unimportant people, whatever makes you happy.
Is there anything else before intermission?
No, the reason that we're essentially checking you off on a list of issues is because we have a handful of people pricing, so 1 or 2 people get a couple of votes, and I want to make sure I don't screw this up. So like, go to the bathroom, come and see me, or wait in line, come see me, come see us. We'll get you a ballot and check it out.
The other thing, for those of you who came in and missed the first half, again, we will have the slides available for you to review later. And if you have any questions, you can ask any of us after the meeting. Cool.
Cool.
All right. Intermission.
I'm gonna go make some push bowls.
There's a
This is the CNC box, is that your computer game?
Give me 1 second.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, yeah. You're fine. You can get me back to
I know you too. But we'll explain it when we, yeah, no worries.
Dan, you read one?
I have a question.
May I alphabet?
Do you know anything about subject? You don't get one. Okay. So I was told that, oh, there is subject. Hi. Hello.
Thank you.
Lisa, how are you?
No, dude.
I have my own treasures around here.
I just figured.
Yeah. Yeah, she knows what she did.
We'll grab one of one.
Here we go.
I'm so glad you're gonna do it, 'cause I'm not.
Dave, I was told you might be able to. More particularly subnetting subnets, VLSN style.
Yo, dog, I heard you like subnets.
That's
And here's yours.
So we subnet. Yeah, yeah. Do you think you might be able to
I
help?
just gotta like take a picture of it.
Maybe later.
Okay, definitely not right now.
Now you have one. I work off 5.0.
Like a drive. Very stylish.
Is this yours or is mine?
Oh, is yours one? Yes. I have one too.
It's funny, there are only a couple people. I sit up, I look at them and I blank, I'm like, you're handling like.
Yeah, I know exactly. Like, I know There's a few times I've been to places, not just here, where it's like everyone uses their you know, from online, you show up and their badges or name tags and real names, so,
I'm just gonna highlight the process. It matters. Nick got his file, right?
Yes. Airplane. Yeah. And like, hey, we're done.
So, actually, we're gonna do that. So you work it. Yeah.
Major one.
I'm not doing it.
I mean, that.
when I say
Thank you.
I was just thinking, you guys.
Don't do that.
Next year is the big 1-0 for FamiLAB.
Oh, I forgot.
Does that mean?
I was thinking we would have a Christmas party.
No,
Yeah.
need much better.
No, the Christmas party. Go ahead and party. No, I was thinking that we might do it from the warehouse and just like push everything out of the way for a minute or something. I don't know.
Done. Ratified, done.
Oh, my. Really?
You actually might as well stand in That's probably good.
Oh, there's a slide.
Introduce yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's where it's all done in the same account, so you
It's not gonna be.
Oh, no, I'm gonna. I will be acting.
Our macro, that's the macro.
Yeah. Because that's what Andy.
Or this guy.
That guy. I have mine.
I've never tried.
And I will take care of the
Oh,
Set my belly down. What's your name again? I am.
I know.
You get any balance?
I did not want to suddenly. I actually. That's fine.
Gives us the tiny percent back. It's one.
Because under 20 on the first.
Mr. Chancellor, do you have a ballot? Then you come to one of us and say, hey, my name is Daniel.
Instructions, make sure you follow the instructions later.
Do not fill
We're
it
gonna
out
tell you how to
beforehand.
do it.
Because everybody seems to screw
Everybody
up.
on the list.
Whatever, already on the lesson.
What you're saying is, I should ignore all the rules, fill it out randomly.
And we will throw it away.
Okay, we've had people who filled out a line who can't be here, who've done it wrong 3 times in a row. There's yours, hopefully I can prove this. Here's the- Reading is for news. I got
George.
code.
There we are.
Here, I got.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's almost all.
They've got it, and then.
You have 58,000 miles. Unless there was
You should go for it.
I didn't even see it. I think I just did.
Okay, so Nicholas, we're gonna mark those off. in the standard. So I'm just gonna start at the top one.
Yeah.
They're only like 20
So I
songs.
got candy.
Oh, yeah. I finally got my first option. I hooked it up over here. So, the laser room.
Oh, he is on the list. No, Justin Park is not a proxy.
Not Dustin Johnson. Yeah, the other Justin.
Did Aaron?
Did Mr. Casey get one?
Sorry, I got
Is August still here?
Is August here?
Okay, August is.
I didn't.
I crossed.
I can't believe
Who? Coop, you're on the list. I know you're on the list. Right on, man.
Hey, do we hand out the pins by chance?
Holy shit.
We're not handing out the pins yet until it's time to fill them out, right?
Don't fill them out now.
Yeah.
Are you Matt Libby? I am. Your name? All right, cool. Good to know.
It's, well, a lot of people won't go by their handles, I think.
Yeah.
So
There's no handles. I don't.
That is the challenge.
I don't know anybody in real life.
Not yet.
Yeah.
I want you to hang on to the video.
I don't help anyone by not having my pass on my neck.
You gotta get speech prepared.
Well, I feel like I should, but I always like, then I need to lean over something. That's why I don't, getting caught on the table and popping off. After working, it took me 5 minutes off the whole magnet engineering and stuff like that, and getting good engineers, and it's always getting caught on cables, even the big release ones. Well, like, I had a little, drawstring, like zip out and then pull back.
I like
think
that.
it's hooked on something and it yanks off your belt. I'll buy another one off in regular cheapo was kind of.
Pico, yay!
Aaron.
Never in the
Aaron
life.
Ballard.
Oh, I didn't get one, because there's instructions, so we'll make sure everyone does it right.
Oh. No, they don't have to look at that. They're taking it perfectly. I never get it away.
Yeah, I do. I'm on it.
I mean, I've been lucky enough that I've never had a carrying ID like that. That was terribly, like, the risk of it going missing was that I would have to pay. It would be like, now someone can just like, the sense of data or, you know, they're going my bad.
Yeah, they're doing a playoff. I think they're playing next week too. It's like Good Friday and whatnot. It's like, I said I've never seen them play on Easter, and I don't they have it on Good Friday. I usually have a flyer. Yeah. Great. Yeah, I don't know. I just
I love it. I like it as much or more than like beer. I think you like Imperial Bob. I'm like, hey. But I will give you the caveat, it was just built, so it's probably not as cold as it could be.
That's all right.
Don't worry. Take a deep breath.
Chris isn't gonna vote for you. For you, for sure. Yeah, I haven't, honestly, I haven't got it. Yeah, I know. Yeah, right. Some part of it is me. Yeah. All I need is a stick. I got all right, everyone. If you can take your seats, we'll go ahead and get back started.
Did everybody who is a member get a ballot?
Yes, if you are a current member, please make sure you have a ballot. Does anyone not have a ballot? Who needs a ballot? Okay. This is a I looked up what's in your
Yeah.
Wikipedia's not.
I'm still existing. He's not here.
Yeah, correct. It's each because it's like
I'm glad we can exist in proximity.
Like, close enough to call it that. Yeah, not exactly. And because what we're doing doesn't actually conform to how most elections are done, so it's like.
And it's still a crazy, yeah, all right.
It is a much more even representation of the
Yeah, not by hand. We're at
which is why everybody out the provision. They're like,
Stuff is only just coming in.
So we're going to do a couple little fun little bits of information and number crunching here. We'll start with going backwards. Who here became a member this year, 2018?
Welcome.
Okay, thank you. Who here was a member in 2009?
Oh.
That's really
Three either. Okay.
Programmer.
So we'll go the other way. So, okay. Keep holding your hands up. That's what you do, and everyone feel free to look around. Members in 2009, raise your hand. 2010. 2011. 2012. 2013. 2014. 2015. 2016. 2017. 2018.
2019?
What year?
Are you a time traveler?
25 seconds.
There's a time traveler in the back.
Time travelers.
That'll be awesome. Oh, let's
Yeah.
forget Time Lord.
Dave Casey is a Time Lord. In case you guys haven't ever noticed, sometimes he can appear in the same place or in two different places at the same time. Other interesting fun with numbers. Who all is on our Slack? Everyone's on our Slack, right? Okay, awesome. Since all time, and by all time, since Slack, we started using Slack, Jamie has sent 116,646 Slack messages.
Nice. You know what? I talk too much.
Followed very quickly by Mr. John Cope, 64,732 messages.
Wow.
Nick, 62,979. Luckily, I'm under half of the highest person there, 55,000. And then Daniel Lewis, actually. You must say a lot where I don't want
It's me and Dan. We talk all day.
Well, you've offset the numbers, so now you get a special place on the slides. We have, as you can see, in our Slack, we have 581 members in our Slack.
581. Why aren't they paying dues?
So they're members of Slack. They're not members of Alpha members.
Right.
Correct. Yeah.
Some of us have 2 or 3 accounts.
Yeah. We have a legend from other hacker spaces and stuff. It's interesting.
Don't forget
Huh?
and the bots.
Oh, and all the
Oh, yeah,
bots.
they're bots.
So here are the top 10 arbitrary points for the year. Nick has 351.
Stop giving me points.
What?
You can reset them.
Angry.
Hold on, Nick, let me get Nick, I reset myself so many times.
We haven't cleared for the year.
Well, we're going to clear for this year.
That's like,
After
no.
this meeting, we're going to clear. We're going to clear it first. I'll buy you dinner someday.
You owe me dinner anyway.
Yeah, I do. I think you owe me dinner too. So is it cancel out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's.
And by buy you dinner, I mean like tacos. I'm not going to take you out to like Disney or something. So I don't have the same kind of money that FamiLAB Treasury does.
Yeah, right.
No more.
I just got 5 pings giving me points.
Wait, no one's taking me up on the buy you tacos offer?
No.
Waka taco if you clear it.
Oh, shit. Should it be a chimney?
It could be a chimney.
Nick's Slack's gonna be blowing up for a little bit.
Anyway.
You guys all suck.
He was sitting on the
So this is another interesting trend line. Jamie, what are the 2 different lines here on a year-by-year
Well, that's
membership?
just, so the
light
darker
blue's the
line
thin
is,
line.
the darker line is actual, and then the lighter line is a polynomial fit. Before, it was to point out the difference from last year, but it wasn't like a huge enough difference to actually show up and be noticeable. But last year we mapped it more to a linear, and this year we're more like slowing down a little bit, which is good. But we're still pretty well along that projection. By 2019, figuring we have basically that says a deci ton of numbers. Is what that says. But we're at 129. That looks about like 140, 145 by 2019.
It's all Is Nick receiving more points still?
No, now they're taking them away.
Oh, that's hard.
If you zero out all the points by taking them away one by one from people.
Jesus, please
Like-
don't do that.
Oh my God, yes, let's.
No, my OCD does not let me ignore scroll back. I read like every.
So that means Katie will be notified 131 times that her
No,
points have
I
been
have
good.
So I will get paid like 500.
There's questions in the back. Questions.
Does that include people who left? Or is this cumulative?
What?
What?
Members.
Year-by-year membership.
Anybody with
Yeah.
a membership, or is it that's?
Oh, well, wait.
She's talking about the graph.
Yeah, the graph is.
That's a year by year of the snapshot of who we had at the time.
Yeah.
So it's not the total who have ever been with us. It is the total at each annual meeting.
Yeah. So it's that one-time look at the.
Yes, it doesn't show the turnover, which is probably a graph that I should bring up at some point. Simply because I did all the number crunching at the same time. Because we're not really heavy on turnover. We've had some, but not nearly as much as other makers we've seen. Anyway.
It's a good trend line.
Any other really fun number bits of information that I might have missed? Because I don't have any more slides for this. But anyone else? No? Other fun numbers? Okay. Nick, how many people do you have in the machine shop over there?
80 something, which means 800 and something fingers have entered and left attached to the same hand.
Yay!
Excellent.
150 eyeballs have survived intact. We took like 600 pounds of scrap aluminum into the recyclers in a bunch of 55-gallon drums. Like half of that was me.
Very awesome. Cool. All right. Well, we're going to move on. Our next presenter, the fabulous David Smith.
Are you fabulous?
Today I am.
Okay, good.
He's wearing the bow tie.
Bow tie. Yeah, that's
He's
true.
wearing
Bow
a bow
tie
tie.
doesn't mean automatically fabulous.
If only we
Bow ties
had
are
someone
cool.
here who made light up bow ties.
Everybody has one of these. So we're gonna go over bylaws changes.
Okay, I'm gonna turn the lights on the front so you guys can read it easier.
What
I thought
I've,
he was gonna say,
Lights.
stay awake.
what I've given you is everybody has a copy of our current, our new bylaws. I'm gonna go over the changes that were made as we go through the whole thing. It's gonna be pretty quick. Most of the changes are pretty basic, minor changes, name changes, corrections in the way that things were addressed. So the original bylaws were written in 2009, about, give or take, Mac would know better on that one, about 2009.
Yeah.
So they were, a lot of it was copy and pasted from corporate law,
Which is totally legit.
which doesn't really apply to us. Some of it.
It does. There's just a layering on top of 501c3 stuff.
The sugar. So, so general changes. So, like in the first section, the introduction, we did a name change. It said that the business name was FamiLAB Inc., and that's not our business name. We're Orlando Hackerspaces. We have a DBA of FamiLAB. They go through and change that in everywhere where it had the corporation or FamiLAB Inc. If you go down to about number 4, so we decided to make some changes in there because we're not posting in church bulletins and public radio announcements. They were doing the annual meetings. On number 5, the big change there was that we changed the notice time frame. So originally it was 7 to 15 days to notify people, which is really hard for people to plan around that. So we changed it out to 30 to 45 days. Next major change would be number 8 on the quorum section. Previously, when we had 10, 15 members, having 10 members constituted a quorum. We have over 100 now, and so 10 members don't particularly represent the entirety of the lab. So we went ahead and made that 25% of the total membership. 13. We changed the terms for board of directors to 2 years instead of 3 years. 3 years just turned out to be a little bit too long. It tends to give a lot of burnout. Number 14, we did some term limits so that anybody who's elected to the board of directors can only serve for 2 consecutive years. So if you're elected today, you can serve for 2 years, and then you can be reelected in 2 years, and then you cannot be reelected after that.
Well, for a year.
For a year, yeah. At the next annual meeting, you cannot be elected. Right? You can then be elected at the following annual meeting if you decide to.
You're really that
You can be reelected indefinite times, but only for 4 years at a chunk. Yes.
If, say the board is not full currently, as is the case sometimes, I think it says elsewhere that if you're sitting, you stay until your replacement comes. If no replacement has come, you see your 4 years.
It's murky.
Never mind. I'll say never mind.
Hopefully we won't have to address that again.
Exactly. Yeah, we'll let you know when that comes up.
So number 15, the big thing there was we changed it to anybody who's on the board of directors has to stay a member. So that you have to have a vested interest in the space in order to be on the board of directors. Number 17, the voting process. What's in this document is actually wrong, which is why you also have a small sheet which has been corrected.
We're sorry.
Sorry about that. We after we went through and rewrote all of this, then we went ahead and reevaluated and realized that we didn't cover everything that we wanted to. And so we rewrote it, and it never made it back into the document. So the little small sheet goes over that. When we get to the voting process, I'll actually go through the whole process and explain all of this specifically. Number 22. So there was a section about appointments. Previously, if you were appointed to the board of directors, you would serve out the remainder of the person you were replacing, which could be a total of 3 years, as our current bylaw states. We changed it so that it's until the next annual meeting. So if you're appointed tomorrow, you will serve for 1 year, and then you will be up for re-election at the next annual meeting.
And does that count towards your term limit?
It does not. The appointment does not count towards the term limit, so you can be appointed and then you can be elected twice, and then that's it.
So you could serve 5 continuous years if you so chose.
At an
The membership
absolute
so
maximum,
chose.
yes.
Yes.
So next change was on number 25, which also changed the notice for board meetings. Previously, it was between 2 and 10 days. We changed it to between 2 and 45 days. So 2 days if we have to change it for whatever reason because of conflict, but previously we couldn't even announce when our next board meeting was at our previous board meeting. Well,
it becomes challenging when all of us have very busy schedules and we don't work here.
So under the officer section, we didn't really have a description of the different roles, but 30, 31, and 32 kind of break it out into a little bit more of a description of what each of the roles are on the named positions on the board. 34 is a role limits change. So if you're on the board, for the board, you are electing to be on the board, and internally we choose who's president, who's vice president, who's secretary, treasurer. The way that it's written now is that you will serve a maximum of 2 years in any position. So if you are on the board and you decide that you want to be treasurer, you can serve as treasurer for a maximum of 2 years at a time, consecutively. So you'd be in the treasurer for 2 years, and then you have to change to either a regular director, or you can be secretary, or president, or vice president, but you cannot remain in that same position for more than 2 years. It helps people get trained up. It gets more people with knowledge of how things work. It's easier to transition if you haven't been in there for 6 years or 8 years.
You mean I can't be treasurer forever and slowly embezzle all of our money away?
That would be preferable, but.
Oh, right.
Jamie has a great yacht. You guys should see it.
It's under the house.
And as far as any other changes, almost everything else was just minor text changes as far as changing any grammatical typos. And that is our bylaws changes. There's also a conflict of interest sheet attached to that. It does not apply to the regular members, it only applies to the board members. The conflict of interest is it's a statement that we're not dealing against the lab. It applies to all of our board members. We have to sign off on it.
Basically, the state kind of required, owing to the whole solicitation definition thing that we were freaking out about last year that you all didn't know about. Basically, this year they said, hey, do you have one? Sign it yes. And so we signed it yes, and then we wrote one. The TLDR is that, for example, we're not going to make a rule here that we would then immediately turn around and benefit from. So I wouldn't say, and now we're going to levy a tax to be paid to the treasurer herself forevermore. That's a complication, clearly. But the more serious example, a board member, has hired people who are working on stuff here to make stuff for them, and then turn around and make a rule monopolizing use of the machine that they're doing.
Or that the lab will purchase a tool that
Right,
is only used for that purpose to make them money.
Yeah, it's basically so we're not screwing you guys.
The other thing that's in there is that it does not allow you to serve on any competing nonprofit boards. So that would be if you're a member of Maker Effects or a member of Factor, and they say, hey, would you be on our board? Like, I can't because I'm already on the FamiLAB board and I have a conflict of interest. And they say, oh, no, that's fine. But no, it's not because we could all lose our 501c3s over this. So let's not do that. And that's the way that goes.
Yep.
And it's really kind of formalizing stuff we've been doing anyway.
How would that apply if you're hiring?
That doesn't apply.
Okay.
Any questions?
There's a lot in there, but feel free to ask or come find us at some point if you don't have any questions now.
Awesome. On your ballots, don't mark anything now. On your ballots, to ratify these, as it stands in our current bylaws, we don't, as far as I'm aware, we actually did not have to bring any changes to the membership, but because we want you guys to know of them, we're letting you know because we're very transparent.
I do believe that there was like one subsection that required a quorum of the membership.
And
or
we
something like
fixed
that.
it, yeah.
Yeah, but we fixed that.
So we have to ask you guys.
So we're asking you guys, but you don't sign it now. We'll do that later. Any other questions on the bylaws? They're exciting. A lot of legalese. Questions? Suraj?
On the back here, it says, on the annual conflict of interest disclosure, it says, I am a member of the board of directors or staff of FamiLAB.
We're thinking forward.
Allowing for the possibility in the future.
Okay.
We're
I don't-
wishful.
I don't want to change the paperwork.
Like someday we can afford to hire someone to do regs.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Later.
We're trying to think ahead. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Any other questions? I'm sorry?
Go bigger, go
Yeah,
home.
exactly. We might have staff someday.
It could happen.
Who wants to work for minimum wage for FamiLAB in 3 years? You get to clean all day.
We need it.
Do you have a young one? She's already a mascot.
Hey, Alex.
You need a summer job.
Alice, we need you to come up and give a speech.
All right, no more questions. Our next order of business, you guys and gals might have heard us talking about the operations team. Because FamiLAB has grown to such a size where a board of 7 can no longer handle all of the board operations, the future planning, the books and finances and membership and paperwork and, you know, all of that good stuff.
And the calendar
And
and
the
everything
calendar, yeah,
else.
sure. Essentially, social media, see, it keeps growing. We've compiled a list of everything we do once. It's very scary. We don't like to look at it often, but it exists if you're ever interested in seeing it. That being said, we have then taken the opportunity to split some of these tasks off to our operations team. Operations team is a volunteer-only basis team. If you don't want to be in it, you don't have to be in it. If you want to be in it, raise your hand if you're on the operations team. You ask one of these fine people, and they will help you get into the operations team. That being said, operations team, I believe Nick and Suraj were going to speak on behalf of operations. If you guys would like to stand up and present.
Operations team is also all introverts. Just like the rest of FamiLAB.
Yeah.
I'm going to also dim the lights back.
No, we can't look at you. You'll feel better.
You're going to see it. The middle one.
Don't gesture with your arm or people will yell at you.
Lights.
We, oh yeah, who are the ops teams? Oops. Okay, so we're just members like everyone else, except we volunteer to do some of the easier tasks so we can delegate stuff from the board to us. So that's a lot of the event scheduling, some of the day-to-day operation stuff, like buying toilet paper when it runs out, because we can't use picture paper for that. That should be implement, because I changed it, but it didn't update. Whatever. So implementing board policies. We're not like a shadow government or anything. So. Not yet. And we're just here to make sure the lab isn't burned to the ground. So there's. Oh yeah.
It's like, oh, that part broke. You let ops know. Ops finds the actual replacement part, or you can do that on your phone. Yeah.
Basically,
moving on.
Yeah. Basically, we're all regular members, but we're here often, so we kind of see what's going on at lab, and we can help communicate with board and fix the things that we can fix. And basically, go to the next slide. Basically, if we handle this stuff, so website needs some stuff updated. Someone asks for an event to be put up. We've got all the Eventbrite and calendar access, and we can take care of that. You know, I call Robert's Oxygen when we're running low on welding gas and say, hey, bring us more welding gas. And then myself or Ed or somebody is here so that we can get that. And we put stuff on social media sometimes. And if you're, go to the next slide. If you are or one more. I should have had. So if you are a logistics wizard, or you love social media, or you got a Costco membership, or you're otherwise an enthusiastic volunteer and you want to help out with the day-to-day operations of the lab, go ahead and poke us either in not board, or email ops@FamiLAB, or something like that, and you can join us. And if something here in the lab attention, you can tag us on Slack. We've got a group there, so if you tag @OpsTeam, it'll ping like 12 people. Please don't do this at 2 o'clock in the morning if something's not on fire. If something's on fire, please call the fire department first. There are contact sheets everywhere.
There's also.
And if it's not an urgent thing, email ops@FamiLAB or post it somewhere, anywhere on Slack. We all have entirely too much free time, or we're glued to our computers. We will see it. You don't have to tag us 12 times. We are everywhere.
Can we give up seeing points?
I don't know. Someone should try that. I
Probably-
think it is
It's a
there.
group, not a person, so you can't give them points, you have to give it points.
No, but you can give non-people points. When you think about the
That's
UCF,
why
it has
I
like
get
negative
points all the
500
time.
points.
That's why.
It's just a casual question.
Okay.
You can't.
Mine has points now.
The code is on GitHub. If you'd like to fix this, you can go fix this. Any questions for Ops team?
What we do is scheduling. So if you go to events and classes, there's a form that Katie made, or Google form, where you fill it out, and it sends an automatic update or response to Ops team Slack channel, where one of us sees it, we can put in events. So that's a lot of what we do is scheduling, because it's easy, and it's easy to do the form at least. But we also do consumables, so it's toilet paper. What's that?
Also maintenance stuff. If you
And
see something
maintenance,
that's
yeah.
not working right, or you think needs to be repaired,
Like
tag off.
hot water heater,
Air conditioner filters, light bulbs.
AC doesn't work, that's a big one.
Chromecast.
Yeah, I tried to fix that once, but it's in there now.
And most of the time, before you email or Slack a board member, you should probably, for most things, if it's not directly related to lab policy or payments or things like that, it's probably something the ops team will do. And if you talk to somebody on the board, they're either going to do it anyway because the board, go talk to the ops team. So please send us an email first, or send us a message on Slack. And if it's a board issue, we'll let you know. But most of the time, it's an ops thing, not a board thing. Oh yeah, and you can do most of this yourself.
You also have to, if it's basic stuff, changing an air filter, changing the toilet paper, refilling paper towels, feel free to do it yourself if you're feeling handy, or if you just notice it.
And if something is broken, please tell people. If something breaks, not the end of the world. Just let us know. Let the ops team know. Post them broken. Fix it yourself if you know how.
Put a note on the device so no one.
Yeah. We're not going to come after you if you break something and say, oh, now you have to pay for it. That is not what we're going to do. But we need to know that it's broken so that someone else doesn't use an unsafe tool or make it worse. And that we can fix it very quickly so that other people won't have downtime on the same tool and come and try to use a tool and realize it's broken and then have to fix it. So if something breaks, whether it's intentional or hopefully it's not intentional,
Well, if
but if you break something intentionally, Siraj might cut you.
You can't cut metal on the table saw. Or the
Well,
wood,
but you
does,
can.
or not the wood man.
No,
You can do the wood man. You can't cut inch thick steel on the table saw.
That is correct.
This motor.
That is not a challenge either.
Yeah, don't do that. That'd be bad.
So yes, let us know as soon as something breaks or as soon as you notice something broken, so that we can fix it as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Oh, right.
Thanks, Raj.
Thanks, Raj.
Thank you.
And now,
Thanks, George.
the moment you've all been waiting for.
Food. Oh.
I mean, that's true, but the moment we all have to be here for. How's
There
that?
you go. That's better.
Okay. So as you guys know, we currently have 3 positions which we are looking to fill on the board. One is being vacated by JD as his term is up, and we have 2 other current vacancies. I just looked for verification, make sure I didn't say that incorrectly. So we have 7 candidates, right? We have 7 candidates for the board, and these, I believe, are in rough alphabetical order on this, and they do not match the order on your sheet on purpose, so please pay attention to who you like and who you hate. Without further ado, Mr. Dan Burrows will come up and speak first.
So, hey, I'm not sure what to say for the mic, but
if you can see yourself on the camera, then you're doing well.
A little further over this road.
A little to the
There
left.
you go. No, yeah.
So I've been here with FamiLAB since the start. I was the original vice president, and I like to say I had a hand in starting it, and I'm proud of that. But the reality is, that I was just hanging out with a great group of people at the time who were, some of them still in the room today, Mac Hooper, lots of other people that really had a big hand in it. But it's still, something that I'm proud of. I'm proud of being part of it. Oh, I should say something about this. This picture is, in case anybody's wondering, this one does neural feedback therapy, and he needs somebody to practice on. So yeah, it's something like that. But the good thing is now, like, the voices in my head don't. Oh no, they tell me to not talk about voices in my head. So that's a good question. So to me, FamiLAB has just been this great thing that I've been able to be a part of, and at least from time to time, and sometimes I wasn't able because of my schedule and everything I had going on in my life to be here. Kind of cycling back around to where I've been able to participate much more recently. But it's been this great thing that I'm one of these people that I think, like probably a lot of you in here, that I can't relax by not doing something. The way I relax, the way that I get away from what I have to do for work and my job and everything else, is by occupying my mind with something else to do. When I was, when I was in college, and I would play music, and was I a good musician? No, hell no, I wasn't very good at all. But it was a wonderful place to be because I was with these people who knew more about me and who were better than me at this, and they kind of pulled me along or pushed me along or shamed me along or whatever, and made me be better at doing that than what I was before. And it was this great way of getting out of kind of like the logical mathematical side and getting to this more creative artistic side, and just relaxing one part of your mind while working on something else, and just making yourself a better person and learning more things by being around people who knew more stuff or knew different stuff. Not necessarily more, but that they knew different stuff and they were good at different things. And that's what I love about the hackerspace and FamiLAB. And what the greatest thing about it is they come here and there are people that have different interests, things that are interesting to me, things that are creative, and it makes me, in the end, a better person. So really, when you come down to it, all my success and this continued success is really selfish. I'm a selfish person because I just want all of this to be available for me to take advantage of. But one of my really firm, long-held beliefs is that any system that you have is either growing or dying. Nothing stays static. It's just not the natural way of the world. And I think this is true whether you're talking about a society as a whole, companies, organizations like this, or even ourselves. And if you're not trying to expose yourself to new things and grow, you're dying. This is something that I am so proud of the fact that this place still exists, and there are people that have stepped up and do such a good job. I mean, I'm looking around the room, see, Dave Casey, John Cope, all these people that have just done, that impress me and inspire me. And I want to make sure that that's something that lives on and it continues to go that way. And by the way, if anybody here happens, the whole thing about you're either growing or you're dying, if anybody here happens to know the names of my cats and the Klingon words for those terms, you can probably hack most of my accounts.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for Dan? Take a couple questions from the audience.
What's the name of your cats?
I think the same as one of hers, actually.
So you were super active in the beginning. had a little downtime. Are you sure that you can be active for the next 2 years?
Yeah, what happened was for quite a while, I was actually working 2 full-time jobs because I started when we started this, I started another company, and now I am down to working for the company that started. So I don't work 2 jobs, 2 full-time jobs anymore. That kind of killed pretty much everything in my life other than work for a long time. So, yes, sir.
Is there anything as a board member that you would like to see done differently or to see more of done going into the next 2 years?
Well, as I said, that I have this sort of selfish desire to get things out of FamiLAB that are things that I don't get in my work, in my regular job, in my life, and that is for here. I really love the artistic weirdness that comes out of here, and from time to time there has been more or less of that that I've seen going on, and it's something that I would really like to encourage more of. Again, am I the person to provide this? No, I'm not. I'm not good at providing it, but I'm the one who wants to consume it. I'm the selfish one that wants to make sure that there are other people that are inspired to do this, so it's there for me to consume.
All right, any final questions for Dan? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Matt Cooper is next.
That is not Matt Cooper.
That's not Matt.
It's Ron Burgundy. Yeah.
I don't believe that.
Yeah. This full disclosure. I put this slide together for Mac without his input. And we left
So I'm Mac. I know a lot of you. There's a lot of people that I was co-founder of FamiLAB and invested a lot in it in the beginning. I was friends with Dan, brought him in. Basically, our original board of directors, except for Dan, were friends of mine that I recruited. A little bit about me: I'm an embedded software engineer. I'm working at a startup now, and I'm newly a father. I have a 7-month-old at home, which has been a trip. Thank you. So I wanted to kind of reflect on the early history of FamiLAB. Mike touched on a lot of it. The first meeting of FamiLAB was at Panera Bread, and Dan Lewis was there, and Fish Tank, and Cheshire Catalyst, who was this old phone freak guy, and a couple other people. And it was a real motley crew. And Dan and I, being kind of the formative members, or the founding members, we kind of were 2 sides of the same coin. Dan was just streak.
I feel like this is
streak. Those of you who've been around for a while are familiar with some of his exploits. Whereas I was more like the corporate guy, or more straight laced, kind of get into his yang. And so it was an interesting dichotomy, and that dichotomy is kind of what ended up pushing me away from the lab. I got frustrated with a lot of the stuff that went on, and maybe didn't deal with it as constructively as I could have. All that said, when I was up for re-election, I had recently taken a job that was working really long hours. I understand where Dan's coming from, and I hadn't been around the lab a lot, and was becoming increasingly dissatisfied with the way things were going. And infamously, I didn't vote for myself, and I lost by 1 vote. But it was bittersweet. I mean, during those annual meetings, every time there was usually one person who just far away got those votes. I think our first annual meeting, and when they got those votes, it was really good people, and it really pleased me that I was so in sync with the membership as a whole. Right, first time it was Matt Armstrong, who was one of our great members. He's since moved out of state, and then the second time, the time that I was also off the board, it was Willa, who contributed a lot to the space and really
Did a great job. So I just want to touch on a couple of regrets. Well, I touched on one of them, which was the other was that Dan was the one who originally, Dan Lewis, kind of came up with a name and had put out there that he wanted to start a hackerspace, and I reached out to him. And he was a younger guy and really bright. I really like Dan a lot. But so over the years, I tended to defer to him. For example, when we set up the board, I took secretary because I was like, Dan is kind of a formative member, and then Dan Burrows and Peter were, more respectable guys, more professional. So I wanted them to be in leadership roles so that we, looked like a serious organization. And that pattern kind of, I kind of followed that pattern throughout the years, except when, Dan lit effigy in the parking lot and I flipped out on him and, went to the other extreme. So I guess that was my big regret is I didn't take, a leadership role at the time, when we really needed it. There are another couple of incidents that I was reflecting on. So the whole genesis of this was that, or me putting myself forward to be on the board, was that Dave and Jamie had reached out to me ahead of their board retreat, asking for some thoughts about the lab. And in talking with Jamie about it and thinking back, I realized how there was this place in my life that used to be occupied by the hackerspace that wasn't anymore. And I just wanted to kind of recapture that. My time early on was probably my happiest time in my life, and I just want to recapture that. All that said, I mean, there's plenty of reasons. I think they have a great set of candidates, and I've had my chance to make an impact. But by the same token, okay, why me? I'm boring. I'm reliable. I'm reliable. I'm not going to move to the West Coast anytime soon. I care. The reason I went to the lab was that in that meeting when I was ousted, I kind of took that as fun to me as a person because I cared. So that's my pitch. Is I really care about the lab. And finally, when we founded the lab, I was in my 20s. Now I'm in my late 30s, and a father, and more responsible, and just a different person. And I really think kind of person who could make a positive impact. So.
Thank you, Mac. Any questions? What? You don't have questions?
Yes. So you said it hurt a lot not getting reelected. Yep. If you're not to get elected today, are you still going to be active?
Absolutely, yeah. I come to terms with that. I've started showing up a bit more. And really, I mean, if it came down to what I was going to do as on the board, is that I want to help out our board. That's really the only thing I would do differently. Being on the board or not. Everything else I have planned is stuff that I would do as a member. In particular, I have a lot of interest in the woodshop area and want to help get that in shape. Yes.
What about burning very small effigies?
I'm afraid landlord.
Do it in the machine shop. It's okay.
Yeah, we did credit. He did do it in the parking lot. He didn't do it in the building,
That time.
But I'm very
You didn't really go
I
through
that's,
that.
I said that's tongue in cheek. I wasn't aware until last week's board meeting. That's unfortunate.
For those of you who don't know the reference, we had, was it the Sentinel that time?
Orlando Business Journal.
Orlando Business Journal came in and did a photo shoot of the lab. We had an art piece in the lab for a while that was kind of like a collaborative art piece. You draw whatever you want to on it. This large rectangular box we call the obelisk. Happens that someone decided that a swastika was the thing to draw, and it made it one of the pictures from the Orlando Business Journal.
Oh no.
Was there any other inappropriate things?
No, that was literally it.
It's really kind of remarkable. All things considered.
There was a good deal of the fuck word, but like that was the next tier down.
The board of FamiLAB has no political views or leanings, and doesn't condone any actions thereof, and therefore for any political party or candidate. That being said, Suraj had a question.
I was gonna follow up on that. How soon after that was the obelisk destroyed?
Years?
A while.
Yeah, it was a couple months, maybe half a year.
That was like immediately. I just.
No,
Yeah.
it had an air conditioner installed after that.
Partially painted though.
Yeah, it might have been, yeah.
Anyway.
Okay, thank you, Mac.
Yeah, thank you, Mac.
This gift doesn't stop, I'm sorry.
Okay, so the turtles kind of contradict the ability to be dramatic in the lacking sense.
It's a show.
The only time I've been dramatic is when my husband actually convinced me that I could try something at the Christmas party, and it was awful because I don't drink. So, yeah,
LaFoy?
I don't know what it is. It burns. So I've been a member for almost 2 years, and this. Yeah, I'm a school teacher. I teach at Sanford Middle. Right now, I'm developing a makerspace for our school, or trying to do a makerspace class. Yeah, I mean, I joined because I am an educator, and I found out about FamiLAB, and I was like, oh, cool. You know, I've got some stuff to share, and I would love to learn new stuff. And I got here, and I'm like, I know absolutely nothing. So I figure I can help out on the board. Just FYI, I do help out with other organizations, but they're not competing. Whole Lightning Stars and church and the sea turtle stuff in the summertime. Yeah.
Big cool just sea turtles.
Well, I'm really good at finding stuff on the internet. I did take this picture. That is my turtle, and he smiled for the picture, so that was awesome. Which may or may not be a female, I found out. But, yeah, that's about it.
Questions for Michelle?
What do you teach?
Right now, architecture and interior design. We're getting rid of the interior design, and I'll be doing a little bit of architecture, which I'm kind of glad because there's, I got to the school and they weren't using any technology. So I'm just trying to, teach CAD design to a bunch of middle schoolers who really don't care, but, we're working on it.
I have a question. Would you say that herding middle schoolers is similar to herding FamiLAB members and volunteers?
Herding or hurting?
Hurting.
It's not a particularly great tired question.
Easier or different?
Would you say it's a similar skill set?
Yeah. Break up any fist fights here, so that's good.
You're still fine.
All right, I'm gonna ask the question. You want to learn the business side of the organization. Dear God, why? What is the interest?
Because, well, one, whenever I talk to, like, in the education world, when I talk to parents about, maker spaces and hacker spaces, they're like, but what? And that just kind of upsets me because it's something that everyone should know about. And so I would like to learn more about that side to be able to explain it better and to make it successful at my school and hopefully push it out to all of our other schools. Because right now we're starting to make maker spaces in schools, but they're not classes, and it's kind of it's not organized. So I would like to make it organized and kind of have to learn the other side of that too.
We've got time for one more question. Anyone?
In the back.
The ideas for what the FamiLAB could do for younger people. I mean, there's a lot of bells here, but I don't see it doing too much with.
Besides hiding stuff in the ceiling? I mean, we're kind of already working on that. I mean, not that I've been able to do anything during the day when I actually have to go and teach, but I know we've been bringing in some field trip type things. That's kind of cool. I'd love to bring my kids here, but maybe more of I would like to, not being as a board member, but in the future as an educator, I would love to try to figure out how to get out into the schools. I keep asking people to come to after school stuff. This doesn't happen, but because like bringing kids here is not that easy. Being an educator, I know this because all of our field trips kind of get shot down. If you're in a public school, to figure out how to create, but that's not something I would do as a board member because that's more helping with stuff and whatnot.
Okay. Thank you very much.
I don't talk about eating turtles. That will upset me. No. You're not a raccoon.
Matt? Oh, wow, you left some of my stuff in there.
Oh yeah, I totally just copy pasted in the top stuff.
So I'm glad that I had some yes.
Yeah. So we can
It's
see you on
important that
there.
I'm on the camera and that words are in front of my face. So as you may have read, I'm a lifelong nerd whose first project began during the silver age of the internet. For those of you who might not remember, I think most people here probably you heard a very loud shriek to connect, and you angered anyone else in the house who might be on the phone at the time if the timing wasn't so good. So from that era, I emerged as a nerd or geek or whatever word you might choose. I'm not too particular. I know some people are. But suffice to say, I moved into scientific research and education. Most recently, I was a teacher with Orange County. I have since left that because, well, I like the freedom that a place like this provides for, designing curriculum and having a certain kind of editorial control. In essence, if you know that people are not understanding some of the way that you're communicating that information, some spaces make that easier to do than others. And I think here is a very helpful space for that sort of process. So I can't. I wish I could take credit for that. I will do everything in my power not to infect everybody. I mean, it's only so much I can do once it's airborne. But one way or the other, I will be running in the IOA corporate 5K, and I would encourage you all to do so. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. I think to go back to a slightly more serious take on this, I do think that the more outreach we do, the better it will be for FamiLAB as an organization. And some of that stuff is not necessarily something you have to be a board member to do. So when I mentioned some of this, I think outreach, can be kind of complicated because there are certain things, if you are speaking on behalf of the lab, then you need at least explicit permission from the board, is my understanding. And so that's something that, as a board member, that might be marginally less difficult. But in the end, whether it's as a member or as a board member, I think outreach is a critical thing for us to do because when I travel, I like to visit other hackerspaces. And when people ask me when I'm traveling, oh, what are you here for? Vacation, work? Oftentimes I tell them, hackerspace, do you know what this is? And I'm very interested to see how many people know and don't know what that is, right? And it's interesting to see some of the people's eyes light up when they realize there are places like this in the world. And so I think there must be people who really would like to be here, who we'd like to have here, who would teach class here. Classes that maybe just don't know that there's a place like this. Maybe they don't know that it's here, right? And I think that, again, that's something where without outreach, I think the line is blurred. There probably aren't that many things that you really absolutely must be a board member to do. But I can tell you that if I'm on the board, I'm going to feel a lot more guilt if I don't do. And selfishly, I will run my ass off to be on the podium for the fastest CEO by a series of technicalities that would facilitate. There's no financial incentive either, so it's cool with the conflict of interest clause. I've looked into it. I really think, to end on a little bit more serious note, this is a place that's worth working for and protecting. Like, I have not personally seen a better hackerspace. I haven't been to New York City or Tokyo or San Francisco, but I don't know that anyone has a better cohesion than we do, right? And maybe that exists and I just haven't seen it. I'm not all that well-traveled, but this is a really cool thing we have going on. And there are people who look to us within the community of hackerspaces. You know, people know who we are, and you know, I'm not speaking from all that much experience here. I think other people could make that case better. But my point is, I've got a lot of time in my life, and I'm willing to spend the next 2 years doing everything I can to fight for, protect, and help grow FamiLAB and other places like this, because I think it's important to society. I think it's a place where teachers can do more or ask for more, and we can give people something that maybe they don't have themselves or they don't know how to use yet. So
thank you, Matt. Do you have any questions for Matt? Raj has a question.
Well, I was thinking something, but I don't think it's appropriate.
Man, that never happens.
Speak up. Be inappropriate. I was wondering how difficult it would be to start the FamiLAB pharmaceutical company.
Oh my God.
Yeah, what could go wrong there?
Yeah.
What comes out of the lot line in your photo there?
that is argon.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, this was in the University of Rhode Island, where I did the benchmark for my thesis. That was a chem lab. We were silvering using the Tollens method, glass electrode tips.
So they have schools in Rhode Island?
Exactly.
Yeah, probably not very many because we're not very big, really.
Well, they do, but they're all filled with fish.
Questions in the back? We can move on if there's no questions. No questions from anyone up front? No? All right. Thank you for your time. Up next, Mr. Silverman. Woo.
Stand right from my photo. Awesome. Hello.
Hello.
So, I'm Shay Silverman, Raspberry Pi and 3D printing and laser cutting and arcade enthusiast and all that cool stuff. FamiLAB member since, I don't even remember anymore. It was the old space and it was right when we moved in there and it was awesome using the old little laser cutter. I want to say that it's an honor to be nominated. Don't vote for me. Don't. If you do vote for me, though, I promise to be the best board member I can be. But watching all the other people up here who really want to do this, that'd be amazing if you voted for them. Now, that being said, I do love FamiLAB. I'm going to do the best I can. What I would love to see more of from FamiLAB, the board, ops, and everybody here is more work on grant writing and getting people. So we got some awesome stuff in the Fab Lab, which I spend most of my time here in. And if I was part of the board, that's what I'd be working on, as well as some more outreach like mass mailings and things like that. Emails, not mass, mail's way too expensive. And all that fun stuff. So, woo, don't vote for me.
What is your top score on Joust?
Oh, I have no idea because I hate Joust. Those freaking birds.
The second part of that question, have you ever had any experience serving on any nonprofit organizational boards before?
Yes, I have. Right now, I used to serve on a little nonprofit down in South Florida, but also I'm part of my HOA, mainly because they want to get rid of ducks, and I love ducks, so that's not going to happen. But we are in charge of $30,000 and 160 homes, so we work with that. And also, go ducks.
So, it's like the lab.
I have done 3 Kickstarters, which have all been successful and turned a bit of a profit. Not that FamiLAB would ever turn a profit, but yes, I am good at raising money. Well, we can make money, we just can't pocket it.
You can see some Hollywood content, you can buy stuff.
I was just going to point out that if you do not get elected to the board, you can still do all of these things.
Yeah.
You can, the grants and the fundraising and the outreach can all be done by normal members. And-
If we ever have any normal members, we'll take that under
Or
advisement.
you can join the ops team and get a title to go with your stuff that you can do as normal members.
Yes, yes, they can. All of you can. Mhm.
You guys are poking with sticks today.
Any other questions? Cool,
All right,
thank you.
Shay. Mr. Turner.
It's time.
It is time.
Yes, totally unprepared. Yes, I did write that, even though it looks like Mike wrote it. I wrote it about 30 seconds after I woke up at the last second.
Oh, I thought Mike did write it.
I did the original one, and then I
Turbo, you
copied
have
and
to paste
pasted
mine.
his new one over top of the one I wrote.
Yes,
There's none of my writing has made it to this page.
yes, this is all original work. I'm a fairly new member. I don't have quite the storied history as a lot of people here.
You have to pick up the mic.
For the
Okay.
microphone, not the mic.
I'm over here for the mic.
Yes. What was I say? Running board. Running board. The reason why I want to be on the board is to help out, because I know the board had way too much on their hands. I think what they do is fascinating, to be honest with you. I know she said, why would you want to learn this stuff? I think it's some of it's corporate, corporate laws and how something I've never been part of, and I think it's pretty awesome to see how you deal with the problems on a day-to-day basis. I do want to be part of that. My interests are very wide, varied. I think the learning and the facility of learning that this place provides is awe-inspiring sometimes, and I always want to participate in that as much as I can. So recently, I haven't been around as much as I normally am. I've been distracted by this. I will be a new father as well. That's coming up.
Joining the club.
Yeah, I'm joining the club. Mecha suits for little babies. Yeah, right. The Mr. Space babies. Yeah, it was fun too. It's happening. That's about it. Any questions? Yeah, question?
Of change would you like to see enacted, or what item would you like to see continued with more force if you are elected to the board?
I would say the classes. I think that's very important. I think it's one of those things that's very easy to outreach, and it's very easy to get more people involved with classes, because there's always that getting over that initiation of learning something. It's always the beginning that's the hardest part, and sparking people's interest is the classes is a great way to do that. I'd love to see more of that. Definitely push more education. Yeah. Anybody else?
So, most of what you've been talking about is ops related tasks, and
Yes.
as an ops member, you haven't been as active
Correct.
as.
Like I said recently,
So, how do you
unfortunately,
think you can fix that if you're elected?
how do I fix that?
How do you become more active in dealing with the responsibility?
Well, that's just a time constraint. Recently, it hasn't been that great. Unfortunately, my work has been, normally it's like through the busy season is usually ends around December. Fortunately, we've been short-staffed. Stuff, baby things happen. It happens, but it should be back down to normal here pretty soon, where that shouldn't be a problem at all, actually. I love organizing too, so I think a big part of the board, maybe even ops as well, is to help me organize.
Yeah.
So.
Saw a bunch of hands. Next question.
Somebody else?
So, did you make the instrument that you play poorly?
No, I did not. That is on the list of stuff to do, but no. Yep.
I know that we hear a lot that the financial side of managing the lab is a really big part for a lot of work. What other parts are you interested in learning for that board members would execute in order to help the board do this work or make it more consumer well.
What parts am I interested in learning?
Yeah, well, I mean, I know the board does a lot of financial stuff, but what other parts are you interested in?
Any of that stuff, like for me, I don't know anything about the G Suite stuff, Google Docs. I've never played with any of that stuff. Anything that goes with, like, even just trying to learn about Trello and all the stuff that we guys are putting in as far as software wise, any of those sort of organization schemes are always super interesting to me. So it's a steep learning curve. I've got a lot to learn, not that much, but a little intimidating to say the least. But, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you very much for some videos. Thank you. Lily?
Is it blowtorch? Oh, there's a
Hi.
blowtorch.
Hi.
Oh, this is going.
Oh.
Oh.
Did you guys know there are exits here?
Exits are at the back of the plane, over the wings. The front's probably gone. Hi, I'm Lily. Most of you know me. I've been at Lab since like 2013. That was like the winding down years of the old space. Just to run through these because I forget what I put. I put on the fighting robots at Maker Faire. That's just what someone calls me. Basically, I'm running for board. I was going to last year, decided to drop out, mostly because when I nominated last year, it was 2 people for 2 positions, and that was like an illusion of choice. This year I said, screw it, let's go. Questions? I'm keeping it short because I just set the food up and I don't want it to burn. I brought the food. A vote for Lily is a vote for food.
If elected to the board, what kind of food would you have at the next annual meeting?
Probably not Four Rivers because I think there's a conflict of interest there.
Well done.
I was paying attention. Other questions?
Will you write BattleBots into the bylaws so that we get some of their money?
I don't have that authority. They still haven't gotten back to me about going to BattleBots, and everyone shipped out yesterday.
Oh. All right. So, in all seriousness,
Serious question.
I'm gonna be that person. Sorry. I guess 2. What do you want to do with the board that you wouldn't otherwise be doing, and why? I guess it's kind of 2 parts of the same question. Why join the board?
FamiLAB has been a big part of my life since I moved to Orlando, and joining board would be kind of like a good way for me to give back. And also just to, because I consider family, or FamiLAB my family. It's been there for me through thick and thin, everything that's been going on in my life, and I would like to be on the board just to kind of get more involved and learn more about how it operates and help it operate. One thing I do know is that a lot of times what's happened in the last few years is people kind of see the board as these tyrants and as these whatever, and they feel like they can't talk to the board. I kind of want to, I would like it, like, you know, like the board are still members. It's in the bylaws now. You can talk to the board like you talk to anybody. And it's just been like, oh, we can't talk to the board. They're all stick up your ass. I'm telling you, go see a doctor about it.
You know, Lily, some people are into that. Don't change.
So yeah, I would like to give back to the community that I've been able to derive so much from. Other questions?
Yes, other questions for Lily.
I'll just go down with a few. Star Wars other than Star Trek. Do I know any good sites? Yes. My favorite color is blue.
Wrong question.
Even though I'm wearing green.
Lily had a question. Michelle Lily.
No, I was just.
Other Lily.
Yeah.
Yes, also it says Lilith on there. That's Lily. I'm Lily. Not that Lily. It's confusing.
That's last name Lily, this is first name Lily.
Said Lilith.
Tombstone or witch doctor?
Oh, fuck off.
All right.
Is that any more questions?
All right, thank you.
Wonderful.
All right, I'm going to, don't pick up your ballots if you've already picked up your ballots. Okay, just pick up your ballots, but don't write on them yet, because it's very important that you follow the following instructions. That Mr. Dave Smith will reiterate to you while Katie has,
Thank you, Katie.
don't read this.
Greg.
This is the same text that's on the handout that you received, the small slip of paper.
I'm sorry, you edited this after I left it.
Oh, well, this is wrong then.
This has been edited, edited?
The next one?
Yeah, you edited.
Oh, yeah, I removed everything.
So, okay.
This is what we should write down.
Rigged.
Okay,
Peter, Paul, and Mary, really?
Oh, you guys are making it way more complicated.
Mike, can you go back, please?
I can.
Okay, so everybody has a little small slip. So remember I said that it was wrong in the big packet? Well, we figured out what was wrong with it and we edited it and made it back in. So all the corrected text is here. Effectively, what all this means is that we're doing a proportional method for voting. So previously, you would just get one bit of kind of in a popularity contest with people. You know, a few people would get pretty much all the votes, and you have a couple people who don't have a lot of votes. And there may be people who are really good that tend to not get a lot of the votes. And so what the proportional method does is it allows everybody to be a little bit more competitive on who ends up in the slots. So the way it works is you're going to rank the candidates. There are 7 candidates, so between 0 and 6 is what you're going to write down. 0 being your least desired and 6 being your most desired. You must use all 7 numbers, and you can only use each number one time. So starting at the top, the person you want the most will be a 6. The next person down is a 5, 4, all the way down through, and you can use every number, or you have to use every number, and you can only use those numbers one time. That's it.
What if we
And if you mess that up,
Decimal points, yeah.
your vote will not be counted. You're welcome to come to any of the board members if you have questions and say, did I do this right?
What about the write-ins?
If there's a write-in, you will have 2 zeros. You are still limited to 0 through 6, but you will have more than 1 0. Yes.
Oh, no, sorry, I was over 10.
Any other questions?
Yeah, you can ask us to review your ballots. If you're at all concerned you may not be doing it correctly, please ask us because we want everyone's vote to be counted.
So the highest numerical value you can use is 6.
Correct.
What about 10?
What's that?
What about 10?
Your vote will not be counted.
13?
Still not counted.
16.
I will look at it, but then I will still not count it.
If there's a $5 bill attached to your ballot, we still won't count it.
So
here's an example with our non-candidates, non-member names. No one's named any of these, I don't believe, right? Yeah, I tried.
That would be unfortunate.
This is how it will look on your ballot. It's all in order. Essentially, if you have numbers other than or have more than one of these numbers, then we're going to hand it back to you. So that being said, you also have 2 checkboxes down below, which are essentially ratification by the membership of the changed bylaws and the conflict of interest policy. Both of those have to be checked yes. If you don't check them, we're going to enact them anyway. But it's just so you know that you've read them, essentially. Any questions? Okay. Yes. Oh, thank you. This one. This is the collection box.
I have to get it.
If you grab the pen, please pass it back.
It doesn't matter now.
I've made my choices.
Do you have pens? I think we're doing pens and papers.
Pens and.
Oh, whose pencil did we steal?
Here you go.
Do we end up with
There was a sad pencil.
Yeah, I like that.
Sad pencil that was adversely affected by gravity.
Nope. I smell, I'm gonna go get near the smell.
It does smell amazing.
Okay. Hey, guys, after you vote, we're not done.
No. You talk about the previous bill? I'll have it up here. So you want me to do that now? Do this or just wait?
Anybody else still have a ballot?
Yes. Does anyone have any questions or need assistance?
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Here.
If it's not a cheap ass big pen, it's not the best. They're standing close over there, so I think it's, there should be more close to
Basically, the last thing is, there's an open discussion. There are. There's an open discussion period, and there are other comments about things.
So, are we doing this Russian style? Because I've got a whole stack of ballots here.
Actually, no, so if we want to get one non-board volunteer to sit on the tally.
I need a preferably non-ops as well, to sit with board while they vote through tally.
Make sure we're not rushing.
Dave is gonna volunteer.
All right, when this one is closing, so.
Yeah. I believe you guys want to use the dark room or you want to use the FamiLAB or something?
FamiLAB's bigger.
Yeah.
I don't want to snuggle with you guys. I love you and all, but I want to snuggle with you.
Not yet. Right. I'm gonna put you in task of wrangling everyone back in here. So
I wrote that. It may not be.
You're gonna be teaching a class.
No, it came back out with a warm.
This
is not uncommon to me.
We've developed someone will come from FamiLAB and give a talk at OBBA about how. Yeah, maybe we can trade, an idea. We'll come and talk about, okay, this is so cool.
Does anyone have any ballots still outstanding?
And you can make your own.
Any ballots in your hand?
It's really cool. See, it's.
Everyone turn in their ballots?
Please
speak there for FamiLAB.
How do you see it router?
I rewired it. I see
Yes,
right through you.
I want you to make my clean hive.
Right through you. Okay.
It was funny because when somebody said that you guys were interested in disaster house, my first thought was, I hope the Caesar is ready.
They moved before we
They were
did.
the first ones to move. We were still dealing with floodwaters and packing, and they were safe in their new home.
You moved them, but now you can come out. Okay, you can move to this place. And that would be the last two right now.
Sociology.
We've got to get, And I didn't kill all my houses. You're in that area, you're within range.
Over the
Plus.
Okay.
You learned.
All right. So thank you everyone for submitting your ballots and for voting in our purely democratic process. Okay, that being said, we got a couple other quick topics. So the first thing, before we go to this open discussion period of time, we've asked Matt to start this here. And while you guys are eating and thinking about it, you'll notice there's these things on the wall here that all have dates. If you have pictures or stories or printouts of emails or whatever from any of these years of time periods, you're welcome to use this printer or the Canon in the other room. This one has a mobile app that you can download and print directly from your cell phone.
It is a brother format printer.
There you go.
For searching the plugin.
Thank you. Basically, what we want to do is actually get. We did this a number of years ago, and it was really cool. If you've got pictures from years you think rep FamiLAB to you, or really make you remember, something cool that happened, print those out. Grab a piece of tape. Grab magnet. Attach them to the board somehow. They could be of any format you would like, whether that's pictures or something laser cut or. Okay. Yeah, if you need help in building a board magnetic either.
Just use some fucking tape. There's tape in the warehouse on the night show.
Blue tape. It is a FamiLAB blue tape.
No.
Anyways, we're gonna. I would like to leave this up until the next monthly meeting, in which case we will photograph and what?
Why? There are classes in a book that, like, use the whiteboard.
Is this one not okay? I'd really like to leave it up for a month because it's the first time we might move the location of the stuff.
Let's do a vote.
Okay. Also, while the votes are being counted, I am the only board member in here right now.
No, you're not.
Oh, there you are. I'm sorry. I was like, where everyone's right there earlier. I didn't see you. Looking right at me. So in case you guys wondering, Jackie's been doing a terrible job on the board, so we should come up with real.
I was recognized he was a
Are we having two board members we're counting right now? Yes.
There's Dave, and Jamie.
Okay. So we'll leave this open for open discussion. That being said, if any discussion involves Dave or Jamie, we'll have to ping them for answers. But open discussion time. This is for you guys. Questions. We are open for. Yes.
When do we eat?
Soon. Okay. The food is being prepared as we speak.
What's the operation for going to get food?
First come, first serve.
Around.
When will we know the results of the portal?
While we're eating.
So we're going to go out and around, so we're in a line, or not trying to clog up the.
Would you like to organize that?
Sure.
Kyle will be organizing the lines for eating.
Okay.
So, how about?
I'll just take over to get my board.
Oh, shut.
Hey, before we let's are there any actual business related items before we get to food?
Somebody needs to go before.
Don?
Yeah, a little bird told me, and it might be that I was reading the wrong document, but our lease is tied to the GDP of Longwood, correct?
Yeah.
Is that still the case? Does that ever terminate, or?
No, it's essentially how the lease is increased based on like 4 or 5 different factors. Dave can explain to you exactly, but it's the same way like your apartment lease would be raised every year, is how our lease is tied to, and that will never end.
Right. Okay. But then it's to say that the general welfare of the community around us is directly linked to our financial being.
Correct. Josh?
I know that the board positions are mainly set in stone, the director, treasurer, and all that fun stuff. But are there any updated like sectors?
Hey guys, I'm trying to hear these questions.
Are there any like updated like avenues of, I guess, outreach or other things that you're hoping to explore with the new members that come onto the board?
Always.
Like specifically?
We've wanted. One of the things that we have dropped back on while being understaffed with some of the board is all of our board-led efforts for outreach. So I know that some ops team has done some of that, and some individuals have done outreach, but before we had some board-led efforts for that. Also, building would be a good thing. Organization from the board for more of that is one of the things we're hoping to kind of get back. But that'll be determined by the new board members who come on and what they're interested in doing or pursuing, in their own free will. Yes.
Assuming that the bylaws are ratified, and since you basically said you don't care whether they are or not, you're going to implement them anyway, that means that there are a not small number of current board members who have exceeded their term limits already.
That's correct.
What happens how does that work? Do those people all fall off next year and get replaced at the next one of these meetings, or what?
They all will anyway.
Okay.
All of the ones who will have exceeded term limits will have exceeded their term limits and be up for election next year, but they actually can't run again because they've been past their term limits. So any current board member who has exceeded the limits next year will not be available for re-election next year, but could then run in 2020. We always try to switch up positions if possible, and people are interested in certain positions themselves. And we haven't discussed how that'll happen yet, but I imagine it'll be something very similar that we'll rotate through and figure that out. And it's not, I missaid that. So right now in our bylaws, it says that with the exception of one item, the board makes the changes to the bylaws. We brought it to the membership out of courtesy, just to make sure that everyone is aware of the changes. It's not that we're going to change them all and make it, make us all rich. Because if you can get rich off of $68,000 a year, I'd like to know how.
Especially a 7-member board on a total of 68 grand. Good luck with that.
9,000. Yeah. But that being said, it's not so we can change them for our benefit. It's purely for everyone else's benefit. And we want to make sure their comments and to say that they had seen them. Yes.
So according to the history lesson section,
yeah,
looks like FamiLAB is on either version 4.0 or 4 point something. So what does version 5.0 look like, and what steps are required?
That's a great question. We will probably, we versioned essentially based on space. In our physical building expansion spaces is when we did our versioning. We're also really bad at version numbers. It wasn't always kind of thought out that way. We've changed them 3 times since I've been a member. Our next steps, we're looking to continue to grow, obviously, and we'd like to expand our offerings, whether that's through tools or classes, and generally involve more people. I don't foresee us moving out of this building anytime soon, but upgrades happen. Yes.
So I know in the bylaws there's a clause that's about the not being a member of a competitor, in the sense that this is a business and a 501c3, and I would assume most, if not all, hackerspaces are. In terms of making a space like this, and I guess we're talking about this particular one, better and more accessible to the community, and better interfaced with the place that it lives, do you think there's an important role in communicating with and coordinating with and working with other hackerspaces, or do you think that the effort needs to mostly come from within a hackerspace for that? What do you relationship?
You can, sure, go ahead.
Sure. I think there's a misunderstanding there, because the bylaws are, what the bylaw and the conflict of interest thing says is that you can't be a board member of both. So you could be a member of every hackerspace in existence. We're happy, and we would love to be coordinating with other hackerspaces.
Okay, I guess I don't have a problem with, I think it's clear to me that you could be a member of, say, MakerFX and still be a board member here, or vice versa, maybe, depending on their, but I guess, what is your opinion on the role of our relationship with other hackerspaces? Do you think that should be a focus going forward, or do you think that is great if it happens, but we need to focus on internal business?
Well, I mean, Jamie went to go work with Nation of Makers, right, and everything. So I would love to see and I know you talked about Nation of Makers too.
Yeah, and in addition, we actually have a pretty good working relationship with FamiLAB. some relationship with Factor, just here locally. But I would definitely like to see us try to get involved with our other communal spaces. And I don't want to force it, but if there's something that can happen organically that we can, I guess, facilitate happening, I'd love to see that.
And Detroit comes down and visits quite often.
Yeah.
So if we can figure out a way to become more active with other hackerspaces, I think that would be really good. I know that I think the BioLab has wanted to talk to other biolabs and create a network there as well. Right?
Hello. Welcome. Angela's here from Boston.
Yeah. So speaking of collaborating with other hackerspaces, so that would be awesome.
If there's something that we can do as a board to help facilitate that arrangement or engagement between spaces without us forcing it between spaces to happen, please let us know, and we would be happy to try to work something out.
Yeah. Was that what you were asking?
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so we have this room full of nothing but chairs. There is no seating in there, which means if you want a place to eat, you need to help in reorganizing this room some. So before we break for food, if everybody can fold up their chair and get a pile stacking in the warehouse, then we can work on loading in tables so people can actually sit and eat. And
Fold up chairs.
yeah, fold up your chairs, start a stack.
Hold on, hold on. Hey, don't go anywhere yet. Hold on. Once you guys have your chairs folded up, go around so that when people have their food, they can come back in and sit down. So we're not clogging up the space in between.
Who is leading the chairs and tables up?
Sure.
I mean,
Katie. I'm not leading. The process too. Thank you all. Anywhere in the warehouse, no design place. Just first person out. Start that. No problem.
All right, we have papers.
So neat.
Collecting their own papers. All right, we're on the same page.
I kept emphasizing at work. I'm like, yeah, the meeting started at 3. Did I mention I'm on the board? I should be at the meeting. Well, maybe.
I'm in a fight with my boss here. Yeah, I had someone. Oh, that was okay. I think it was all right.
Well, let's go.
I'll leave that person alone.
Jim.
No.
There's so many fewer chairs in here.
Raj, what's up? All right, I think it was all right.
Yeah.
Kyle?
What? The meeting part? Oh, yeah. I was going to talk about
Suraj, let's grab table.
But it's true that you don't slide outside or something.
Suraj,
Yeah.
you want to move that stuff? We'll grab tables.
Okay, this stuff, whose laptop is this?
That's Dave's stuff.
Dave Smith?
Thank you guys for coming.
Should I close the stream now?
I love the little stand.